Everybody say, what's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube?
So it's supposed to be Jameson and Kelvin, but it looks like Jameson greater.
I did that. That's a little bit of a play on words, right?
Watch him come in.
Yeah.
It's always good. It's always good if you're like trying to be on someone's good side to imply that you're strictly worse than your boss and everything. You're like, oh, I'm just so stupid.
Oh, you can always just, so Jameson will
Yeah.
to the live stream and say,
Yeah.
hey,
Oh,
you don't have to do it.
It's good that you're so much better than me, boss. Can I get a raise?
You can just send it to him and be like,
Yeah.
hey, for coaching.
Yeah.
It's the new craze.
You know, I need a lot of help because I'm, not like you,
Nice. Kids didn't have school, and my wife didn't have work, so we were all just home for 5 days.
That clock's all right.
It's fun.
Cool. I think that one's right for starting class, and then my watch is correct for ending class. You have to change which clock is right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's difficult.
Yeah. I drive a Lincoln, and I starred in Interstellar.
Oh,
Yeah.
you gotta go muscles. Leave the Lincoln one.
Speaking of Lincoln, happy President's Day. I spent 2 hours commuting to Salem on a federal holiday, and then I saw across the street from here at the Capitol was a bunch of unionized educators who didn't have to work today. And I was like, join a union. That's what I thought. The recording captured that. That was a mistake.
I was gonna say, but then you couldn't negotiate for a higher salary.
Yeah.
Thought I'd know.
Yes, I do oftentimes feel like I'm on my own. I'm all alone with no one there beside me. 2 is the loneliest number after the number 1. Got some course announcements. Wonder what they are. I know what they are because I designed the course. You don't know what they are yet.
Well,
It's that palpable tension.
I mean, we could just look at
Yeah. If you're a cheater. The midterm is on 3/17. I was like, ugh. I didn't love that, and here's why I didn't love that. Well, first of all, can I get some loud booing for midterms? Right. I know. Anyways, I took the midterm yesterday. It seemed fine. What? It's fine. It was interesting. I didn't find what I thought I was going to find. Which is one of those things you look at a data set and you're like, oh, I'm going to evaluate this and find something that supports my pre-existing beliefs. And you're like, oh, that's not what it did. So I've had some things to think about. So the thing I don't love about this is that it's the week before spring break. That could annoy you for a variety of reasons. Here's the constraints I was dealing with. I wanted to give you a review, and I wanted the first model to be due the same day the review was, so you didn't have a homework for that, but you had the modeling assignment. When you put all of those constraints together, it forced the midterm exactly onto 3/17. What this means is we're going to do a little thing called supervised learning prior to going to break, and then we're going to do unsupervised learning when we come back from break, and that's going to be clustering, deep learning, and one mysterious other third thing, which might also be deep learning. It might be something else. It might be dimensionality reduction. So actually the course design makes a ton of sense, but usually speaking, I would like to give you a midterm and then give you like a recovery class before sending you home for break. So I apologize for that. I couldn't figure out a way to make the linear constraints work. So probably what you're all thinking is you're like, midterm, but we haven't learned anything in this class, right? But actually you've learned a lot of things, and I want to humbly submit as evidence that you've learned all of these things. Now, bullet point 4, they're not numbered, but it is the 4th bullet point if we start from 1. You don't have to see it. It's on the slides that I've distributed to you. Should I have made this 2 slides? Because then it would look like you learned more things, right? Linear regression, k-nearest neighbors, and naive Bayes. Remember all of those. They caught me naive, we remember. K for Kendall. Okay. Today we're learning logistic regression. And then you've already learned feature engineering and feature selection, but we keep looping back to those things because we engineer features and we select features differently for our different models. Right? What all of these things have in common is like there's this secret thing going on. We have training data sets for them, right? So we can validate our labeled sets against some ground truth, right? We're not looking for something that's naturally occurring. We already know the answer. We're just checking. There are some words on here you haven't seen yet. I think that says elastic net. We'll get there. And I think that's about it. I'm not planning to ask you about elastic net on the midterm, but it is something we're gonna touch on a little bit. So the way this is structured, I think it's easier if we look at the calendar. Why did I type in calendar? That's not what I need. Really? Okay. So this sort of all kind of makes intuitive sense to me. You got the conditional probability homework that's due midnight anywhere on Earth, right? So many of you are done with that. Some of you are going to finish it up tonight. We're going to talk about it as a class in a minute. I'm going to go around and talk to all of you. We have the last classical homework assignment goes out at the end of class today. That's the classification homework assignment. And I think this looks like things you can do. It's possible I have to remove this. I actually need to think about that. Okay. And then we're going to do decision trees. Okay, I have to reveal something to you. I went to the capstones last year, right? Because I teach in this program. I'm not an imposter. And every single person did K nearest neighbors and random forest. I haven't taught you random forest yet. And there's like several weeks of material after random forests, right? But every single capstone did random forest and K nearest neighbors. So anyways, I'm going to teach you K nearest neighbors, which I already have, and random forest, which I haven't. And then those are the things you're presumably going to use. And I'm going to teach you the other stuff too, so you know why that's what you're using. Bagging and boosting is interesting. This is a slightly more technical lecture, and this lecture has no corresponding homework because it goes into the model. So to me, this all intuitively makes sense. We're going to do the midterm, and then I have plans for what to do after break, but I'll talk to Hendrik, and we're going to make sure we stay synced there. But probably clustering and deep learning are non-negotiable, and dimensionality reduction is slightly more negotiable. Okay. It is not true that I'm working to develop a practice midterm. That's wrong, I lied. The practice midterm is right here. You are all comfortable using data frames that come into R through a library, is that correct? Okay. So this thing, the ISLR library, contains the college data frame, and the practice midterm is over the college data frame, and the actual midterm is over a mysterious additional data frame also from ISLR. Unfortunately, there's like 17 of them, so I can tell you that. There's no way you can study enough to do this for all 17 of them before the midterm happens in 3 weeks. So if you prepare that much, you are going to pass the midterm anyways, right? Here's some documentation. And you can take a look at this, but we will spend one class working through this together. But you can take a look at it whenever you like. And perhaps you should. But you, in theory, don't actually know enough to do it yet, because you need to sit through a few more lectures first. It is based on the 5 homeworks to the best of my ability. I did not put any tidy text in there. I'm regarding tidy text as an extension topic. I don't think it is part of the core learning objectives of this course. I think it's a cool, fun thing that's useful. And so I'm not going to test you on tidy text. I'm assuming that your takeaway from this class will be use tidy text to solve every problem, which has been my takeaway. And in fact, when I went to do all of this stuff in Python, I got very close to writing my own tidy text library before I realized what I was doing. But I didn't want to test you on that because I don't think it's a computational linguistics class. Okay. I had to change when the models are. Originally, I sent out a Google form that said the models are going to be due on the 10th and the 17th. And probably some of you are like, isn't that like really dumb to make them do a week apart? Yes, it was.
Going back to the midterm for just 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
question. Is it sitting in here on March 17th, doing it in 4 hours? Is it taking it home and doing it over the course of the week? Is it writing on paper, going on computers? Like, what is the method of doing it?
That's a great question, and I was going to ask you all what you wanted to do next week, but we can talk about it now. Here's my proposal, which is that I release the midterm electronically at 6 p.m., and then I grade whatever you have submitted on GitHub at 10 p.m. And we can either do that in person or not. Is that consistent with how you've normally done midterms in other classes?
Kind of.
Okay.
Heather would just give us like a week to do that.
Do you want a week?
I would prefer an easier midterm in 4 hours than a harder one
Yeah.
for a week.
That.
If that's the question.
Yeah, I don't-
Everyone else feels.
I don't think it's hard enough to give you a whole week. I'd put tidy text back in. Yeah, different.
Could you give us like the day as well? Or-
Yeah, that makes sense. So, does that work for people that work? I could release it on Friday at 5 p.m. and make it due Monday at 10 p.m. Is that okay? Do we hate that? That's a weekend. You hate that? Okay.
If you don't change it, then like if people wanted to just do it in the 6 to 10 p.m. block on Monday, they can just do it then.
Yeah, but it's unfair to them. If I give like everyone who's unemployed, Jacob, 32 hours,
Right.
Jacob, get a job, Jacob.
I have 2 of them.
Get a real job. Become a senior DevOps engineer.
Okay.
I'll probably look at past, like, what Heather would give a week for it to be done, but the expectation is that you work on it.
Yeah.
It would not be expected that you
So
spend
that's what I was
It
trying.
should only take
30 to
you
40 hours.
3 to 4 hours to finish, but you have the week to spend that 3 to 4
I'm
hours.
also fine with just.
You could do it basically. I think Kansas has a system where like it gives you.
Yeah, I can give you 4 hours whenever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, but like you can stop and start it as well.
Yeah.
Is it basically just open book? We could look at our old.
Yeah, it's open everything. I think I'm supposed to technically tell you not to talk to each other. And I actually thought about not even doing that. But it is certainly open LLM. It is certainly open notes. My hope is that giving you this form of midterm will incentivize you to go back and look at your homeworks and make sure you did a good job on them, which is perhaps considerably more useful than doing a midterm. So I was going to make it open everything except my teachers always said it's not open partner, which is completely unenforceable. So total honor system. I will know, and you will never know for sure if I know and didn't tell you, right? So you'll be tortured for the rest of your life if you cheat. There's definitely one student that like I know cheats that thinks I didn't know, and it's like very weird. Yeah, so like if you'll be like, that's weird that I keep like not getting jobs that I asked that person for letters of recommendation for, and you cheated in this class, like okay. But so yes, I'll give you everything. Why don't I, people that have jobs, whoever you are, is it okay to give a full week and then just say it's planning to be the 4 hours and that's what Heather did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm only going to have 4 hours to work on it in free time mode, so yeah. Like,
Okay.
Ultimately, it's whatever 4 hours I think
Okay.
in my week that I'm going to work on it.
Cool. We'll do that then, and I'll release it Monday 9 a.m. and close it the next Monday at 9 a.m. or something. No, I'll do more. I'll give you like a 9-day window or something. So I'll open it Friday at 5 p.m. and then close it Monday at 9 the next day, next week. And you're 100% sure that's what Heather would do, because I will do anything Heather does. If I go talk to Heather, is she going to say that's what she did?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why I brought this up.
She also brought baked goods, cookies, candy, every once in a while.
She actually does do that.
She totally did.
Do you want a Ritz cracker?
Yeah, I love aristocrat.
Variety snacks from
Got one for the part of the cherry crackers for all.
There's 3 left. Who wants them? Oh, there's about to be 2 left. Okay. Thank you for your question. I will figure out some release schedule. And I will administer the practice midterm the same way. so we will know how it works. I sure want to do it on GitHub Classroom. I don't know if that'll cause your brains to explode. Some nervous laughter. Okay. First model's due 310. Every group should create an annotated star markdown file, and you should provide a data file, which is probably going to be in the RDS format. There's also an RDB format. What is that? Is that the same thing? Does any? Okay, so we don't know what that is. It's probably not important. Pickle is my recommended Python format. Parquet is, presumably it's possible to do this assignment in SQL, and I assume then you would save it in Parquet. And whatever your data file is, it should contain only the features that you want in the model. And I'm making you put it on GitHub, because I think that's my job. After the most recent homework assignment is done, I will post the code I will use to assess the projects, more or less, right? So you will know what you're targeting. And then the thing I will manipulate is I will manipulate the random seeding and like the number of times that the model runs and things like that. The goal of modeling project 1 is feature engineering. So just only think about feature engineering. That's what you're supposed to think about. You may use KNN or naive Bayes. I would be pretty surprised if you use naive Bayes, but if you get it to work with naive Bayes, you should tell me to use that, right? There's some cooking you can do with naive Bayes for sure, right? Like if you have some insight of the data set that works with naive Bayes, you should absolutely use that. It'll give you performance benefit. I'm using a repeated k-fold with 5-fold, k equals 5. So I'm not bootstrapping. And I'm going to test everyone on the same thing, and I'm going to like release the scores in some partially anonymized way so you don't all hate each other. And the people that win will have bragging rights, but they will also not necessarily be allowed to say who they are. So I haven't decided how to. I think you can brag to people that aren't in this class. You should want to do the best because it's its own reward, right?
Right.
This is like how I'm the best YouTuber.
Well, we can't brag to people in our other classes because it's all the same people.
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for other classes. I don't know why you did that. We are building towards the final exam, which is short for finality examination. That was kind of funny. Okay. I'm going to ask around and see if I can find someone in the... I don't know people in the wine industry. I'm going to try and get Nam from Archive, who's like really good with tasting notes for coffee, and see if I can bribe him to come here. Because I think that's the same skill set. And then I will see if I can find anyone else that understands data modeling to come here. But in practice, it's probably going to be me. Should we invite Jameson to the final? There's a lot of thumbs up, and there was a correct answer to that, and you didn't get it. Okay, so maybe we'll invite Jameson, and then we'll have to give Jameson some wine. And that'll be sassy. Okay. I am requiring you to present from something that is hosted on the internet. How many of you have given presentations in class, and between every presentation there is a 45-minute interlude where people try and plug various things into a Mac and a PC, and none of them work, right? Yeah, that's banned. You're presenting off of this device, and if it doesn't work on that device, you're in trouble. This device is here all the time, and I will let you practice on it whenever you want, right? So you can come up here and try and load it. If that device explodes, then you all get an A. So there you go. Don't hold on. Let me rephrase that. No. If an investigation concludes. One of the things that has given me the most power over other people in my life is I showed up for a conference once in the great city of Austin, Texas. Can we hear it for the Bat City? Yep, that's where South by Southwest is, and also UT Austin. Probably some other things. That's where Yellowbird hot sauce habanero condiment is from. So I showed up to this conference, and I didn't bring my laptop, and everyone was like, how are you going to present your slides? And I was like, I can present from any computer on earth. And they were like, how can you do that? That's so crazy. And I presented from a hyperlink, and everyone was like, oh, Calvin, you're so cool. Can we give you jobs in the semiconductor industry? And I was like, no, I'm going into education. And they were like, okay. You should have all gotten an email saying what group you're in. If you didn't, that's my fault. I'm sorry. Get in your group and talk about the homework, and also like get each other's phone numbers. If you hate your groups, I have a confession. Some of you said things like, I want to be in a group with someone who X. I don't know any of you. I don't know who X, right? The only thing I know about all of you is that you're studying machine learning, right? So I put you all in groups with shared interests, but that interest is enrolling in Data 505, right? So this will be a positive learning experience for all of us, and we're going to be understanding of our classmates and also of our professor, okay? I'm sorry. Get in your groups. If you don't know who each other is, start yelling things like, who's Alan Turing, who I put myself in a group with.
That's great.
That died.
My group?
Who's in your...
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Oh my God, Ryan.
Two of us are over here, so...
One, I don't know.
No, Mike just said you're fine.
So,
Self-awareness.
yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm happy to be.
Some people do that. I think so. Mike,
And Jeff also answered every single one of the questions I had. So.
But I want to work alone.
Okay. He chose this. So.
Yeah, with me.
Jacob, are you happy? Are you happy being alone? Like this.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I was ever going to.
Done the last problem yet?
Cool.
You thought I was going to check out. Guys, here's the problem, is that our grade is not based on this.
Okay.
But it's
So I have to do
I got a kappa value of 0, and I didn't recheck it. I said, yeah, that's good enough. I really
This is a problem. Well, not problem, but like.
Yeah. I ran it also on data set, but I got a kappa of 0. And I was like, I guess I just did bad. Yeah, I'm lucky for the same thing, I guess. I know.
It's not really not.
We are presenting, but you're not going to see like this project got this tuition. It's like these are the schools.
Our presentation, we will all present.
I don't need to. It's probably some of the top really cares about.
But
Yeah. That's right. I got, right.
This is kind of insane.
Present your model results.
I know you're going to something, I can't remember exactly.
Or is it a different, it's a different model? But it's still on the same data set, right? Yeah, that is the okay. So when you're setting this, it is a question. But I don't care. But I thought I'm the same.
So then,
I mean, it's any number. You can put like really any number there. Yeah. So I put 88. And it's just like what rank is on that. You literally just pick a number. Fair.
so like get my top 3 words.
Yeah. 505 is like a random example, but if you put 505, like you guys are just discussing your homework. Oh, wow. Discuss more.
Hey, you want to talk about this? You want to talk about what
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what difference.
Why has like this to the left side of the it's kind of like and some lines are
I do not remember. So I took, I had very few and I was like,
Yeah, I didn't in that side.
there are multiple.
So my question is if we're doing that, how would
Otherwise,
Maybe I'll just put like and then just say like yeah, so it's like the same.
Would you explain this? Yeah.
But I don't know what model it is. This whole thing that we did in class, and then I'll probably just like
what 90 days does, just whatever math algorithm they have for the I guess associated. You guys have the same confidence. Yes.
Yes, there's one that she filtered out, so you know, and that's my number 2.
Yeah, I mean, K and N, you remember like that circle, that flower, the circle with the image under? I'm not sure how many of those are. But it's just a
Yeah, so I got frequencies at 5.
I had one.
this was like the
I just don't have this. Yeah, and you get here. So
it's kind of like writing.
We will do that.
yeah, like why? It's true. But I feel like yeah, and that's what I've been doing.
Just mumble in the corner.
Yeah. I've been talking out loud. Everyone's not ready.
And then you have to
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I made the mistake of yeah, I was like, oh, surely someone will win this fast. No.
Yeah, I think that's like false positive.
Like,
So I think it's like
no, 5 minutes. But then you're basically halfway there. Yeah.
How did I not know That's crazy that I asked for that.
it must have to do with like the spread of
Oh, that's not a
yeah. So it's
Real life.
So that's like a
it's
player.
more
Yeah.
dense than it's this, and it's less dense. It's like so I guess that's just
And then everything runs, and then I want to move on, and then I go,
I think I.
What are these presentations? As a career?
It is.
Do they make money? Do they like do professional? From who?
No, it's okay. I'm kind of having fun like thinking about this.
And most of the organizations are essentially like the media companies, or like other, like they're a company that like sells
That's awesome.
yeah.
I think I just did art for one value. Yeah, to like make sure it's going down. But yeah, if you try doing like 7, you notice you
Yeah.
What a world.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so you choose
I'll do that live.
It's basically just like an organization that's hired on everything.
Do they cost?
It's probably going to be like diminishing. Oh, it got worse. Oh, very interesting. I don't like that.
Oh, this is our state.
Yeah.
You can have, this is a, I told him what folder, try to keep it repository.
I mean, it's still.
So they're good enough.
What is training on like?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's going back and rechecking.
Do we have to do like training?
It just got worse.
What did we learn that? It worked. And it made me learn about esports. This is personal. Apparently they call themselves
It's a dangerous game, okay? There are risks.
Wait, was it from Purple? Like, did
I don't know.
fast?
I don't know. He just like really hurt his arm. I don't exactly know what the issue is. I think it was just like
This is being
yeah. What's also crazy is like a lot of people go like start doing it.
Like I don't have to work just
Look at
what I would change is
I'm learning to take. I've never trying to use all those
It's 30 and 50 million. Yeah.
Is that like the main? Is that the?
That's it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I do lots of
What about like?
oh, just for one, I just
Is magic right? Are they right? Okay. So it's not a place then. I guess it's
No, I don't try to like yeah. I've never even figured it
Is League of Legends a team game?
Yeah. I want
we got it. So it's a nice little
We're using our time.
Jacob, do you want to do you want to check that?
I did everything out of my
I know lots of yeah, there were some I guess.
I have
See the code.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it works. Okay. Just pours gasoline.
Well, I've done the first part of
Like an updated version of this, or this, or both.
You can find that out too.
Right? It's like, oh, I got sad.
So it's like it's a whole new model. It's not like something so hard to get done.
I don't really understand.
Okay.
Almost all.
Just have more words. I think it's gonna be.
I don't know, but you're allegedly going to teach us about it.
Just gives me like walls.
Yeah. I don't remember the definition of it. I used to have my studies right like a zero. Are we coding?
Speaking of things, I found.
Oh, you left in there.
I lost it towards the 7 hour, but it's one of the it's
It's not wrong. It's just
yeah, like from the master's shop.
You just found it. Are you the same way?
And it's from the actual master's. It's not the same. It's like a.
I don't know why I have it right here. Because I realized I think I need more squares than I thought I did, so I also just have to like re-sketch out and like change the game plan and stuff. I did procrastinated on that because I didn't set up for that. I just wanted to finish it in class.
Right.
It might be
Getting practice in making that decision. So you may be like, oh, I noticed from my and then I can say one of them is better.
I still just like pink and white yarn.
But also, like,
I
you learn some technical
I
strategies,
don't
like,
like that I have to
maybe you want to play
switch
Danny,
on my business.
or maybe you want to play box,
And then I watched it.
So,
right? Maybe you want to play box, right?
no,
I don't know what to do, right?
which is why I say
But those are the things to try to get on. All those steps.
Oh, the yarn itself was old.
Yeah.
I thought you had to say
White guy.
You can like guard.
Yeah, I see, I understand. You're laughing at me?
My brother told me he's like,
I'm not. I know, this is shocking.
So the assignment on this slide is the assignment. The model.
The model.
well, I know like reasons are,
And that's
It's just a
that's
star
where
that's
it's put
ready.
together an RDS file.
and I love having
Like
like
has a high kappa value when I run something very
It just stops the
As I get cold.
Yes, correct. First class. Sorry,
I knew this whole school thing.
that sounded mean. What I meant is.
I haven't really done this school before, guys.
You got stuff in your own. You said you couldn't be here.
Did I mess up on the
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Doesn't matter. You're fine.
I just need to.
Yeah, no, I'll be fine by myself. I feel like I said I could do.
Okay. That's fine. Who loves logistics, right? Yeah, like, no, you love logistics. Wrong answer.
I can just reassemble it.
So, yeah, logistic regression. I have heard that not everyone loves seeing equations, right? So I'm going to show you equations until you get over that. So, one of the ways to think of the classification task. And what is the classification task? Usually that is finding some labels for some set of data points. Logistic regression doesn't quite do that. It either labels or not labels one data point. We answer a true-false question. We answer a decision problem. We say yes or no. What is one way we do this? We see how to tell if wines are from New York, right? And obviously you do it by the accent, right? Is there any? There's a New York accent, right? Like New York, yeah, okay, right, yeah. Have the Yankees won anything recently? Maybe.
No.
Shout out to Yankees. Didn't they spend more money than everyone else?
Yes.
And if I spent more money than everyone else, I'd feel like I was winning, right? So, like, in a way, they've won, you know? So, what's going on here? Well, we have the notion of log odds. We've seen odds before. We say, like, oh, I've got my card that has a black side and a red side, and I pick out the card and set it down, and there's some odds that one side comes up or the other. And we take the logs of this so that the sort of, when we graph the equation, it's more nicely behaved, right? And then we say, okay, well, I have a series of features of my data set. So in addition to seeing which side of the card is up, I can say, what are the odds that something is from New York or not from New York, right? We can also look at features. X1 could be a feature, right? And we can say, oh, the probability of a wine being from New York increases if the description contains the word fruit. And we can say, the probability of a wine being from New York perhaps decreases, perhaps B2 is negative, if the description contains the word California, right? And so what we have here is we can add up an intercept term, so just an adjuster that isn't related to anything related to the actual feature of the observation. Then we have some features of the observation, and each of the features of the observation has some coefficient. Are we all good with coefficients and features and observations? Okay, right. And then we're also all good with algebra. And so we note that this thing, log of p over 1 minus p equals b sub 0 beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2. That is equal to this thing. You probably don't believe me, right? Not to worry, I derived it. Okay, so p here represents the probability of an event occurring. So what is that? In our original, I think, pno.rds data set, I believe 9% of wines are from New York. But it is not true that given any wine, there is a 9% chance that wine is from New York. There's a much higher chance if it is fruity and a much lower chance if it is tannic, perhaps. I don't remember if that's correct. I think it's something like that. So perhaps we have a large negative coefficient on tannic and a large positive coefficient on fruity, or perhaps just fruit. I think it's not fruity. There seems to be some differences between R and every other calculator I've seen in my life, where R uses log to refer to the natural log, and I'm accustomed to seeing ln to refer to the natural log. What's the difference between the natural log and the other log? I'm accustomed to this log being base 10 in everything except computer science classes and base 2 in computer science classes. And the natural log is base E, and E is about 2.714, I think, right? What's the usefulness of that being 2.714? Something related to calculus. Don't worry about it, right? So we're going to take a log, and we're going to take a log of the odds ratio, which is the ratio of thing happening to thing not happening. So if we take New York wines naively, p equals 0.9. 1 minus p is 1 minus 0.9, which is 0.91. So we have 9 divided by 0.91, which is about 0.9, I guess, which is not too exciting. If we're doing flipping a coin, the probability of heads is 0.5. The probability of not heads is tails, which is 1 minus 0.5, and so that's 1. So these things range from relatively high to relatively low values, and then we take the log of all of them. Right. How does my computer work? I don't know how to use R, so okay. Nope. So we can take the log of 1, which is equal to 0.5 divided by 1 minus 0.5. And that is the log odds of a coin flip. And then separately we can do this with wine from New York. Why do I keep putting 2 dots, right? And we see we get wildly different values for those. And then we can also see the probability of a wine not being from New York. And it inverts. So we have this notion of log odds. And log odds are nice because they're centered around 0, right? We've used, for example, power transforms like Box-Cox to nicely center and scale things before. So we're doing that with our odds as well. Okay, so we have the natural log of the odds ratio, and that is the, I don't know why people always say left-hand side, because I don't think this equation has hands, but I'm accustomed to hearing these things described as the LHS, the left-hand side of the equation, is the natural log of the odds ratio. The RHS, the right-hand side of the equation, is coefficients of predictor variables, or perhaps we call them features. So we have a corresponding coefficient for each variable. And then we have an intercept. Why is it called the intercept? Because this is the value of the right-hand side when all of the variables are set equal to 0. So you intercept the, we commonly think of it as the y-axis, right? But in fact, this is a many-dimensional data set. So that's what we're dealing with here. Okay. Why do we call this a regression instead of a classification? This thing is not returning a Boolean. It's not returning true, false. It's not returning a classification. It's not returning New York or not New York, right? This is calculating some probability. When we use this to make yes-no decisions about whether a wine is from New York or not, we're going to make a cutting off point at a log odds. So we are still regressing. We're just taking a regression, and then we're going to one-hot encode a certain breakpoints in that regression to correspond to a class. So it is not a classification algorithm. It is the use of regression algorithms, because this thing is, that's just a linear model, right? A linear combination. So this is still a regression, but we're using the regression to answer a decision problem, essentially. This is one way to visualize it. I did not pick this title. This was provided to me by Wikipedia. I'm not telling you should spend more time studying. Well, maybe I am saying that. Spend more time studying. This graph shows that you should do that. I don't know how the data was collected. Passing an exam is true-false. That you either score 1 or you score 0. This is the exact same rubric I'm going to use for my midterm exams. You'll either get 1 point or 0 points on them, which means it's low stakes because it's only 1 point, right? So no one got exactly did not pass. And what we see here is that with low hours spent studying, you are more likely to get the beloved 0, which is, of course, what we index lists at if we're in Python. And with more studying, you become R programmers, and you index your list at 1. And so there's a more passing values at the higher distribution of hours spent studying, right? And this line here represents the log odds. And so there are about as many passes and fails in this sort of middle third here. We can think of that as Mountain Standard Time, perhaps. And we see that we have odds that are closer to 50-50, and in fact about 50-50 of the students that studied less than 4 hours and more than 2 hours do pass. And then every student that studies more than 4 hours passes, and every student except this person up here, who is quite suspicious. That's an academic honesty investigation if I've ever seen one, right? That student studied fewer than 2 hours, but everyone else did not pass. And in fact, everyone studying 1 or fewer hours did not pass. And so what does this tell us? This tells you that you should study exactly 2 hours and 40 minutes and get lucky. Okay. Let's derive this thing. Okay, so I have a log, I have some odds, and I have some coefficients. It is simple enough to start converting this to solve for p, which is our goal. P is buried inside a complex arrangement at the beginning of this, but we're going to need to calculate p, so we're going to have to try and get to there from coefficients. We're going to remove the logarithm by raising both sides to e. Do I have np.e? Okay. What we can see is that by raising e to the log of something, that's the way we can get the something by itself. And so if we take np.log of np.e to the power of 7, we can get 7 back. And equivalently, if we get np to the power of, let's do this from np import star. Okay. If we take the log of e to the power of 7, we get 7 back. If we take e to the power of log 7, we get 7 back. Pay no mind to my computer not understanding arithmetic. That's not its fault. Of course, we can do this with 4, and we can do this with many other values. Oh, no. Can I do positive 1,000? Nice, we're safe. Okay. So we raise both sides to e to strip the log away from the left-hand side so that we can isolate the p-value, right? Okay? So that's what makes sense here. We're raising this monstrosity, the entire linear combination. That is now a power of e, the natural log. And what is e? It's 2.718. I said 2.714. That means that you can never trust me. Some of you foolishly thought you could trust me. That's false. Okay. We're going to simplify the left-hand side, or the left side. Do you say left-hand side or left side? Are we anyone love hands? Okay. Perhaps the white hand of Saruman? Anyone? No? Okay. The black hand of the Dark Brotherhood?
Left hand of darkness.
Yeah. There you go. Ursula Legwin, who's from Portland. just like me. Okay. I got really into emo music lately. Okay. That was related to me. I don't know if that was related to you. Okay. So we can rewrite the right side using exponentiation rules. What is that? So e to the a plus b equals e to the a times e to the b. You don't believe me. I know you don't believe me. I can tell. I can tell there's skeptics. Let's take e to the 17. And then we can just multiply these things together. Oh, those values are the same. You should have trusted me. You were fools not to trust me. I always have your best interests at heart. You can trust me with anything, especially your social security number. Just send me an email real quick. Okay. So what do we have here? We split this out into a multiplication. Then that could be nice later. It could be easier to work with this thing when we do multiplications later. We still have sort of an annoying combination of p's here. This thing's difficult to derive. No problem. The obvious thing to do next is to multiply both sides by 1 minus p. Right, so we do that. By multiplying both sides by 1 minus p, we get p by itself over here. And then we have this more complicated operation on the other side. So this is the original. We have the linear combination. We've split the linear combination into a series of products over e to the power, so exponentiations of the components of the linear combination. We multiply that by 1 minus e. Then we can distribute this 1 minus e, which we all know how to do. So this is going to be this thing minus that same thing times p. So we have the same thing, and we subtract from that the same thing minus p. So this linear combination and this linear combination are the same. We're pretty close to getting all of the p's together at this point in time, so we're just going to have to redistribute some of this stuff. We can put all of the p's on the same side, and notice the sign changes, so we subtract this value from both sides. Easy, right? And an astute observer will notice that this side is something times p, right? It is 1 plus the e's to the linear combinations times p, right? It's some natural product, right? And then over here we just have the same linear combinations we were working with previously. Okay, so we can extract that, we can factor it out, and we take p times 1 plus all of the e nonsense, and that equals all of the e nonsense. So then all we have to do is we can solve for p by doing one additional division, right? We're multiplying p times 1 plus the linear combination nonsense. We divide the linear combination nonsense divided by 1 plus the linear combination nonsense, and that gives us the p-value, right? P here not being the classical p-value, but standing for probability, because we are determining the log odds of something, right? So what this means is when you see this equation, it should intuitively make sense to you. It is only using algebra you are familiar with. If it looks odd, remember, it's just a straightforward application of all the rules that you know. It is slightly easier to perhaps to write this with a 1 divided by, and you can sort of see how that happens, right? We take this, we notice they're on top of each other, and so we can factor out the 1, right? Sort of up to you which one of these you work with. I don't like writing what I've affectionately been calling the linear combination nonsense more than once, so I simply take 1 over e to the negative that plus 1. Easy peasy, right? And there you have it. This is logistic regression. So what is this thing solving? This is solving where our cutoff is on our little regression chart, whether students pass or fail their exams. And I think the equivalence of failing your exam is being a Pinot Noir from New York. So that's pretty much the same thing. Don't be a Pinot Noir from New York. Let's implement all of this with Carré. Le bibliothèque Carré. Does anyone know French? I've asked that before. I don't want to know. Don't tell me. Okay. There's a lot of stuff in here. You know these ones. That's tidyverse and Carré, right? Tidy text is around because a lot of these results are more interesting. We can get much more refined results if we do some text. Snowball C is going to provide our stop words. P-Rock we're going to use very later in class. That's a return curve. This is GLM ENet, which is another sort of logistic is another model. We have the stop word data set, and then we have the sort of thematic things that are coloring my code. So all this should work for you. You might need to install these ones, maybe these 3. I don't know if you'll have GLM eNet. Do you all know what ElasticNet is? Okay, some of you nodded yes, and some of you nodded no, and you all seemed confident, which means you don't know what ElasticNet is. Okay. I'm grabbing the Pinot RDS, and I'm making sure that I save my IDs, right? So I'm keeping all the IDs. All right. We're going to extract words, and then we're going to begin to work over them for logistic regression. Who remembers what stop words are? Do I have a brave volunteer? What are stop words?
Words that are basically useless for context.
What is an example of a stop word?
The, A.
Great. So A's are useless, right? So it pays to get B's, and C's get degrees, I think, right? Yeah, there we go. I noticed you gave the examples that were on the slide. Let this be a sign to you that if I ask you questions, the answer will be on the slide, okay? All right. This is also useful for the midterm, where the answers will essentially be on the slides, but you will in fact have to find them. I love writing functions because when I was 20 years old, I got bitten by a radioactive computer scientist professor and then became a computer scientist. So I like writing functions for things. And this function I wrote here takes a data frame and a list of words that I don't like, and it removes all of the words I don't like from the descriptions and then makes a tidy data frame. So there's one observation for each word. So an observation is the wine, some other features of the wine, and one word in the description of the wine. And none of the observations include banned words, so I'm engaging in censorship, I guess. And then none of them include stop words. And these are the stop words that are provided by Snowball, or perhaps by tidy text, right? So we're going to remove the omits, we're going to remove the stop words, and then we're going to unnest the tokens in the description. Oh, posture check. I was slouching. How's everyone's posture? Okay. What? You know?
Just Jacob's posture right now.
Jacob's busy applying for senior DevOps engineer jobs.
Yep.
You're not watching sports, are you?
Nope.
Ryan, is Jacob watching sports? You're doing sports. Okay. That's so much better. Okay, I have a fun story for the entire class. Is the person in here? No. Okay. So one time, do you all know Professor Hyan Chung? Right?
Yeah.
Wonderful person, very nice, right? Likes it when students pay attention in class, right? So I walked by Hyan's class one day, and a student was on chess.com. So I found that student. So I walked by again and saw that student's name, challenged that student to a game, and beat the student while they were in class. And there's nothing more humiliating than losing a chess match to your computer science professor, right? I can't do that to you because I'm teaching the class. So if someone would like to defeat Jacob, you have my blessing. Jacob, what's your rating?
In what format?
See, it feels like you're trying to dodge the question to me, right?
Okay, in rapid it's like 1300.
All right. Good for you. Okay. Is that good?
Like, I don't know.
You know what is good? Machine learning. So why don't we extract all of our words with description to words. We're going to unnest, anti-join, and filter. I was messing with tidy text earlier today, and I was pretty sure I had to put list here instead of vector. And I don't know why it's working now. Filter. Okay, seems fine. And here's the heads of the words. So when I look at these words and I visualize them, what am I thinking? Well, I'm thinking, even in this few words, even in these 6 words, I should definitely see a the or an of or an a, some article, some preposition, if I'm not successfully filtering my stop words, right? So I definitely should be successfully getting them out. Regular bottling. Maybe I should have filtered out 2012. I don't know. I don't know what you think. Tannic, rustic. I don't know how something tastes rustic, right? I'm getting a little suspicious. I do know how something tastes regular. Has any of you ever had Hershey's chocolate? Does it taste regular?
Tastes bad.
Tastes like rural Pennsylvania, right? Shout out to the home country. And so, bottling. Okay. I don't think we would be able to tell from just looking at 6 words if we successfully filtered out Pinot, right? We're probably not going to see Pinot in the first 6 words. But so we take on faith that it is gone. Do you all know what word stems are? Have you heard of that before? This is super cool, right? So acidic and acidity, if I am just talking about how something tastes and you're like not listening to me that much, maybe you're like playing chess.com during class, right? And like those words like blend together and you don't really know which one you heard, right? But you know something has either a high or low pH value. Do I have a chemist or biologist? Wow, okay, so I tried to get Ryan and that didn't work either. So we have a low pH value because something's acidic. I'm going to have to do more questions to see if people are paying attention. This is fun. I like being evil. So no one's ever convinced me that you have to conjugate anything in English. I think you can just spew babble and people will understand you pretty well. Don't do that if you're learning another language. Be respectful. Okay. Some of you may have wondered what STEM stands for, and it stands for data science, data science, data science, and machine learning. This thing killed on LinkedIn, by the way. They all love it over there right now. They're all trying to pretend they're data scientists. And none of them took this class, so they're not very good at it. I thought that was funny. Okay. Yeah, I study STEM. Okay. So you can optionally restrict words to stems, and basically this snips off usually a few letters at the end. So bottle, bottles, and bottling are all the same words. Acid, acidic, acidity, and acid trip are all the same word, right? So you can use the tidy text built in here. It is extremely non-trivial to write your own word stemmer, which I found out when I thought I could do it once because I'm allergic to using code that other people wrote. And it turns out I have absolutely no idea how to tell if a word is a stem or not. So the easiest way to do it is to just write down every word. In common everyday speech, I think it's very unusual to go that much past 10,000 unique words. And I think you all know that it doesn't take that many minutes to write 10,000 lines of code, right? And it especially doesn't take that many minutes if you have a grad student who's paid full-time to do that, which none of us have. Okay, we aren't domain experts in linguistics, even though we want to be. This is what my favorite website says word stems are. Wow, that's bright. Let's go back. Okay, all right. Oh yeah, there's compound verbs. Blacken and standardize. How are those compound verbs? Does anyone know what a compound verb is? I assume it would be like on board. Here's an example. Wait, waits, waited, waited again, because there's two kinds of waited, right? Like, I waited for the bus. Oh, I waited on that table. You can say I am awaited in Valhalla if you're a big fan of Mad Max Fury Road, which probably came out in 2015. So, I don't know. And then you can say waiting. So here's an example of doing some data science, and machine learning, right? We can take the stems, word stems, a little bit different, and we knock some syllables off. So bottling goes to bottle. Regular is ineffective. I don't remember what rough is. Rough and tannic and rustic probably say the same. I wonder if tannins turns into tannic, right? Is tannic the root of tannins? I don't know. And then rustic is pretty interesting because it's probably not the same root word as rusty. So you have to be careful there, and that's one of the things that didn't work for me when I tried to write my own stemmer. So many of you are probably familiar with the famous proverb, popping bottles in the ice like a blizzard. Many of you all remember what that comes from, right? And so we can take the stems of popping bottles in the ice like a blizzard and determine that pop music in the late aughts contained no words, right? The only things that are stems and not stop words in here are pop, bottle, and blizzard, right? And not popping, right? We don't get to keep the ping, and we don't get to keep the plural on bottles, but blizzard is fine. This talk is sponsored by Blizzard Entertainment, yeah? So I didn't know this, but this track actually samples from another track by Dev. This is Dev. And apparently that track is called Booty Bounce, which I was unwilling to put in slides. So anyways, that was Dev. It's Dev. It's Dev. Right? Sunglasses at night inside. Okay. All right. Okay. We know how to have a good time here in Data 505. Do we? I think so. Okay. Like a G6 is never. I'm not going to say that. I'll get in trouble for that. Okay. With either words or stems, that or is bad. That with either words or our stems, we can get counts of words. And how do we get counts of words? We count within IDs, we group within ID. Why do we group in within ID? That ID is a line. Remember, we stepped through this last week, so I'm going through it quickly. We verify that for some ID, the word in question exists. Then we ungroup. There's almost certainly supposed to be parens there, right? Did this code work? The code worked at some point in the past. Do you know?
No, I'm just asking why there are 2 oaks.
There's 2 oaks? I don't think we have combined all the counts yet, have we?
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's broken. You know, that does seem cursed, doesn't it?
They have the same total, too.
Yeah, they do have the same total. It's probably only the highest total that matters, right? I don't know. Fix it. Well, I just did the homework, right? And I ran into this same problem and I fixed it. I don't remember exactly what I did. I wonder if I forgot to fix it in the slides or something. Okay, so this might not work. And if this doesn't work, someone will find the solution to it and put it in Discord. Ryan? Okay.
Sure.
Thanks. So we can either take the words that appear 1,000 or more times or the stems that appear 1,000 or more times. I do suspect what's going on here is yes, these things all have to appear 1,000 times. And we're just still seeing them because I think there's more than one observation for the first 1,000 times. And that's why we have the totals over here, right? So I think what you want to do is, the way I would do this is I would throw these things in a set. I don't know how you do it in R. But I guess you can just nuke this column and then you'll have unique entries, right? Okay. We currently have multiple entries per ID. Never mind. No, we have the solution. It's right here. Okay, it's on the next slide. Why did I doubt myself? I feel my body temperature rising. I just triggered a stress response in myself, and it doesn't even matter. Cool. Let's pivot wider. What is wrong with this slide? Oh, it's slid over. Look at that. Look how long it is. Look at that. That's we call this the pivoter. Pivoting is what I'm doing as if I'm being interviewed by the news and they ask me a tough question I don't want to talk about. I say, I think it's time to talk about bread and butter issues for everyday Oregonians, like tuition prices and MSDS programs, right? And then everyone goes, that is what I want to talk about. I don't want to know how fast you were driving to get down here, right? And so that's what we do. So we take the words, but we also take the data frame. What's this corresponding to, right? So I created a new intermediate data frame that contained different words with different counts, right? But that is not the same thing as the wines, right? There's still a wines data frame that's living somewhere else in R, just floating around, and it contains things like descriptions and provinces and perhaps taker names, right? And so what I'm going to do is I built this whole word set. I have counts of words. Now I'm going to take those counts of words and I'm going to plug those counts of words back into my original wine data frame, okay? And the way I'm going to do this is we're going to unite based on IDs, right? So we're going to join on IDs. We're going to do everything based on IDs. So all of these things, values from exists, and values fail is list equals 0. That deals with the case where you don't have a word in some description, right? In that case, you just don't do anything. But over here, we're going to want to add entries for each word and for each ID. So there's going to be an entry for words and IDs, right? Then we're going to do a join operation where we're going to take df, that is the wine data set, that is not the words data set. Why am I clicking wrong? Okay. And we're going to combine these things. We're going to do a right join where we take the wines, then we're going to look up the ID of the wine in words, and then we're going to look at the province, We're going to get rid of the things that we don't care about. We're going to nuke the ID, and we're going to have little counters for all of our words, right? We're going to have features now, and we're going to be able to differentiate things better. So here's what this looks like with the stems and the words. This stands for data science. So I don't know. I'm doing my best. Okay. So wine ID 1 is, in fact, a drink. It is also oak. And we can see here that wine ID 1 is bottle, but it is not og. Right? Okay. Is it anything else? No, nothing on here. Right? And so here's some of the different entries. Right? And we can see that wine 5 is a drink. Ah, it's a drink again. Right? Is it anything else? Ooh, it is also a flavor. Very good. Okay. And then perhaps over here we can look at, is there anything that's, okay, this is true. Wine 6 is a drink. Okay, many of these things, so perhaps we should have added drink to our stopwords, is what I've learned from this. But we do see some crossover collaborations, like how Dev collaborated with Far East Movement. We have spice in both of these, right? And we also have raspberry. And I don't know why raspberry over here is spelled with an I. Ask the computational linguistics. Oh, for plural. You're the goat. Okay. Never let anyone take anything away from you ever. Okay. Here is a function. I love writing functions. All you have to do is be better organized than the opposition, then they can't take things away from you. Okay, so we have wine words here. It's a function that accepts a data frame, whether or not we want stems. So you put a 0 in here if you want to do environmental science, and you put a 1 in there if you want to do environmental engineering. Right? No, environmental science also is a science. You put a 0 in there for environmental studies. There you go. I'm doing my best, okay? Do I have any environmental studies appreciators? Anyone love fish ladders? No, that's probably environmental engineering. Okay. The salmon deserve rights too. Okay. So we take the description into words. We potentially massage the words if we want stems only. Then we get the counts of the words, and we only take counts over some J value, some cutoff. Because if a word only appears once, do we really want a feature for it for the entire data frame? No, that's how you destroy your hard drive, right? We got better things to do than count words that only appear once. And then we pivot things back together. We take the words that we built, and we jam them back into the data frame as features. So this is wine words. Okay. Time check. Okay, very good. Let's take a look at some of the data. Do we say data or data? Does anyone say I'm a data scientist? How do we say this word? This is what I am. I'm a data scientist. Where are they from? Zurich. Okay. We're Swiss. There's holes in our arguments. Okay. ETH Zurich, great school. I know someone's studying there. It's on Lake Geneva. Okay, so we take our wine data frame. This is the one we read from Pinot.rds. We look at words for which there are 1,000 observations, and we do not care if there's stems or not. And we save this in vino. Okay. Then we just look at vino. What's it look like, right? We've got drinks. We've got oaks. We've got aromas. We got bodied. That's what's going to happen to Jake on chess.com. Okay. We've got raspberries. And we've got provinces, right? And they're pretty much all going to be Oregon and California, right? Most Pinots are from Oregon or California. That's unsurprising. Okay. Time to do some machine learning. Okay, where's Marlborough?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Where's Casablanca Valley? Chile, South America, right? Okay. Where's Burgundy? All right, where's California? Where's Oregon? Where's New York, right? if you take one thing away from this class, do please remember there's continents other than North America and Europe. I'm not really supposed to say that, but here we are. Okay. Okay. So I was teaching IDS 101, and we were like, one of the assignments was like, make any flag you want. These high school students, the countries they know are like Finland, the United States, and then they think Puerto Rico is a country, right? Don't be like that, okay? Data science doesn't make sense unless you like have some vague understanding of the national categorization of Taiwan and Eastern Sahara, right? And these are like non-trivial political questions to answer. Okay. So speaking of nation states, let's make a variable called control, right? We're going to do 5-fold cross-validation, and we're going to plug that into all of our controls, right? I made a little function here because I didn't want to write train a million times, so we're just going to train on provinces on a given data frame. We're going to use repeated, I always want to say k-fold because it is k-fold. It's k equals 5. 5-fold validation, right? I'm going to do a multinomial regression. The reason I pivoted to a multinomial regression is all the code broke if I didn't use this. And I asked Google Gemini, and they said use multinomial. So I plugged that in. It was built into my libraries. And I'm going to use a maximum of 5 iterations. Why is that? I ran 100, and there's like 20 models today. This thing took forever to run. And I was like, I don't really need to see all of this stuff, right? I kind of know what it's doing, right? It's folding and then combining coefficients, then it folds, then combines coefficients, right? And like, yes, I do suspect if I did that 100 times instead of 5 times, I would get a higher kappa value. That's not impressive to me. Let's just see if we can get it at all. We'll do a little bit of training and see what our kappa value is. And whoa, look at that, 0.56. Is that pretty good or is that terrible? I'd say it's meh, right? Like, it's not the worst, right? 0's randomly guessing. But this is not great, right? I would not describe this as humiliating, right? It's maybe just unimpressive, right? So this is about as fit as I am. My partner asked me to run a half marathon. I was like, no. Okay. Any marathoners? Yeah? Distance running? Okay. Yeah. It's... okay, so this is unrelated. The half marathon started at 7:15 in the morning. I was going to do it until I heard that. Like, obviously I can run 13 miles, but it's 7:15 in the morning? I have to, like, be having a bagel and stuff at that time of day. Okay. This code is a little bit sketchy, right? I don't know how I feel about this, but so what am I trying to do? I just want to look at some of the odds, right? So here's the odds. I didn't do log odds. You can do the log odds if you want, right? But I'm going to take the coefficients from the final model, right? So this is the fit, this is the model, but there are many such models here. So we're going to look at the final model, the model that comes out of train at the end, right? We're going to take that, we're going to break things up into columns, and we're going to look at the different classes and the different odds, because we want to relate an attribute to a province. So we have classes and we have odds, right? So this is the odds, and this is the odds that California is bodied, right? It's bodied versus the alternative, right? We sort this high to low, right? That's a range. So these are monotonically decreasing. And then we're just going to look at the beginning of this. So this is just a way to look at the beginning of the odds, right? So Oregon is highly correlated with nothing because there's fewer Oregon wines, right? The Casablanca Valley, which is where? Which is in what continent? Very good. Has a relatively high correlation, right? But not as high as Cali. California is strongly affiliated with oak. I suspect this is a marketing branding thing. I suspect the California vineyards spent a lot of money telling people that their wines are aged in oak. I bet no one actually tastes this, right? And I bet no one has a nose in California, right? They're all Voldemorts down there. Okay. I always forget there's a California in this class. Present company excluded. Okay. So we all love to be confused. Uh-oh. How do I do the thing? What is it? It's there we go. Not bad, but what if we decrease threshold for a word to be included? Okay, that seems fine. Okay. So, we're going to look at our confusion matrix, and it's going to report us a kappa value of 0.5537. Things always to take away here. Not always the easiest to successfully classify Oregon and California wines separately, right? Not too bad on Casablanca Valley. New Zealand in big trouble here, right? So let's improve this. We're going to use more words. This was kind of non-intuitive to me, right? So this number went down. On a previous slide, I put 1,000 there. What did that 1,000 represent? That's 1,000 occurrences of a word. So if I decrease that to being 500 occurrences, that means I capture all of the words that occurred 1,000 times, but additionally also capture the words that occur between 500 and 1,000 times, right? So this is many more words, right? But it is words that appear less often. So it is less useful words, but it is many more words. It is probably roughly similar amount of usefulness in aggregate, right? And I'm still not using stems. We're not doing data science yet. I split and I get fit. And blah, blah, blah. Stop after 5 iterations because I've got things to do. 0.62. Oh my gosh, that's so much better, right? So what was it previously? Who remembers? Yeah. Where is it? There it is. 0.55, that is an F, right? Below 0.6, right? And this thing, that's a passing grade. That's a D minus, right? So we're doing really well. And if we got B or higher, that'd be suspicious, right? So it doesn't make sense to think of these things as grades. We can also look at the odds. We see many similar features here, right? I think, did chocolate move way up?
Yeah.
So it seems like chocolate's not mentioned that often, but is a very good predictor of Oregon. Probably that's one of the things driving our kappa value much higher, right? We needed a way to differentiate Oregon and California wines. Boom, like a bolt of lightning out of the cloudless sky, chocolate comes. And we all love Hershey's chocolate. Shout out rural Pennsylvania. I have family there. They're fun. 0.6107. They live in Harrisburg, which is where Bucknell is. And Bucknell is actually one of our regional corollaries. We hire from them, and vice versa. I think our director of advancement worked at Bucknell. That might be true. Shelby. Blah, blah, data, whatever, look at it. What do we always check? How is our Oregon classification doing? Way better, right? Improved a lot. California not actually cleaned up that much. Casablanca's still fine, but Marlboro's still tough. They're all getting lumped in with Oregon. So perhaps these Marlboro wines also are chocolatey, and that's causing us problems, right? We like STEM, right? Data science, data science, data science, and machine learning. Put that on your business cards. You all have business cards? Me neither. Oh, it's worse. What is one of the other things that happened? I went back up to 1,000 here. Why did I go back up to 1,000? Well, I expect there to be many more occurrences of things when I get them to stems, because I'm now combining rusticism and rustic. And I'm combining acidic and acidity. And I'm combining chocolatey and chocolate. Right? So I went back up to 1,000. That said, this 0.59 is much better than the 0.51 without using stems. Right? So both the use of stems and both adding words both improved my kappa value. Now, you've all gotten a modeling assignment, which is to figure out which provinces things are from, and I've told you 2 things, right? I've told you use more words as features, then I've told you use stems. So that's an example of 2 innovations you can have. Now, you're all in class together, so you're all going to do that, right? But you're going to find some cutoff points for words, and maybe you'll look at 10 or 15 words and see if they actually help or not, right? You can add words to your omits, and you can rerun this stuff quickly. Quite a few wines here. Here's the odds. Chocolatey is gone, right? But we have cherry again. Got oak, and we got bodied. Here we have much better performance for Casablanca Valley. Still pretty bad performance for Marlboro. I'm assuming the soil in Marlboro just tastes the same as here, or people just don't know about New Zealand and assume it's from Oregon. because that's kind of suspicious, right? Now, there aren't humans that are making these decisions, right? But the humans are the ones putting the data in the computer, and the computer's getting it wrong. So there's something a little bit cooked going on here. The lines are being described the same way. And we know we can differentiate small regions because we're fine with Casablanca Valley and we're fine with New York, right? So Marlborough, interesting. Is this even better? Kind of, right? It's different. 0.57, not great. Okay. It's time for dinner. That really snuck up on me. You can look ahead at this. Dinners, I'm going to introduce this concept, and then you're going to have a sort of modeling practice. So be ready for that. You are going to have to think, right? I feel like I delivered a lot of content. I'm hoping you were all following along pretty well. But you're going to have to do something after dinner, so I'm sorry. I don't like doing things either. I have to go get a mocha so I can talk ever again. See you all around. Wow, no one's watching the stream.
I thought you were the best
You can go in if you want.
I'm more of like an exclusive YouTuber. Like I do it for my fans.
Right.
They call me Professor Beast. I asked to call this class Applied Beast Games.
I was rejected.
There's a lot of ideas I have that are rejected.
You said my minor.
Yeah, of course. You're doing this on paper?
Yeah, because I'm so scared of doing it wrong. So.
It's a little bit suspicious to sign up for computer science instead of paper science like this. You see what I'm saying?
I know.
Cool. Have you taken data science or data structures? With Lucas?
Yes.
Good for you.
Okay. Well, I'll work on getting there with the remaining 2 hours of class.
Pretty sick. I don't know what else I could do. Let's make sure my industrial CMG wasn't like the right thing.
So what is, so yours is just in the document materials?
Yeah.
It worked even with
I
this.
know, that's how I was confused. When I tried doing it, like on my regular, like, oh, it didn't work. Like,
So for all of that modeling, then we're just using the description of find out problems. Is that basically it?
that's what it's going to be. That's what they show.
We're using any engineered features that we make.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's just the
Oh.
description.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you. Yeah, no, I was just confused for a second.
Yeah.
And
He hasn't released a lot of stuff.
and when they said like run multiple or 5-fold validations, it's like, are we running a 5-fold validation or are we doing?
Well, I think you're doing this one.
Yeah, that was good.
I don't know if there's multiple types of 5-fold
You actually
validation.
changed it.
I think there's multiple types of validation. like bootstrap, but.
Yeah.
I think you need to
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was
different methods applied to
Yeah.
chaos.
Oh, yeah. I was just confused. Thank you.
Oh, he added bash history.
I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't know either. I'll just put on there. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Like, actually, just keep it that's not. I thought you just meant for dinner outside.
If you want to bring it up first.
I mean, I'd be like, I guess you can, but. I took it last spring. It actually is yeah. No, I love the class. I loved it. But it's nice to only have two different classes. Business.
I have a 5-slide presentation I'm doing to make by next week.
And they wait
Until
right before the class starts.
And then they present it.
And they do.
Honestly, the
Congratulations.
big thing about the business schools, you just get a ton of like soft skills about it, but
Yeah,
none of the skills that like are worthwhile getting are required.
Yeah.
So you have to actually put in like decent amount of
You
effort.
just do the
You
stuff
get-
that they tell you to do.
Yeah, if you can scrape by the classes so effing easy, it's ridiculous. But if you
Or
do
actually
like,
get the skills.
yeah, if you do like the behind the scenes work, it actually does valuable stuff to it, but exactly. Like I've done a lot of valuable stuff behind it, and it's like way better than any of the stuff I've done in class.
Yeah. It's like really cool stuff.
Exactly. That's how I got my internship in my job. And all that
Soft
flat.
skills.
All that flat. Oh, Jesus. Enjoys the class from home.
So far, I'll be watching.
Well,
Mostly.
I was actually so close to watching class today. Or whatever. YouTube Live. I was at home today. So I drove in and I got back into town at like 4:30. And I had to go to the trainer still, and I was like, last thing I want to do is like zip over the phone really fast, you know. But I did it.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
See, annoying part of it is you actually have to carry that.
The reason I was actually going to be on time today, and then the reason I was late is because I was on my way out and the trainers asked me about some tennis drama we got going on.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh,
Tennis
okay,
drama?
I got that.
What kind of tennis are
Oh, coaching stuff. I don't know.
Nice stuff.
Yeah. Just have to know about coaches. And the assistant coach that we hired is just like, ass. And he had an away meet with the men's team this weekend. And they had a doubleheader in Portland on Saturday, and then we drove up to Tacoma on Saturday night, and then played Puget on Sunday. But when they were driving from Portland to Puget, the guy could like not stay awake.
Wait, what?
Like he was like swerving out the lanes and like falling
Seriously?
asleep and all this stuff. And all the players were messaging our head coach, being like, hey, like we are gonna die. Like none of us feel safe right now. So he had to call the assistant coach while our match was going on at home and be like, you are no longer allowed to drive to the school, pull over, like Jake is certified to drive, one of the men's players.
Yeah.
And Jake drove for the rest of the
shit.
game.
That's crazy.
Isn't that insane?
It's ridiculous.
cover shit together long enough to drive your team to a match.
But you know if things are still dry?
Yep.
Now you're still tired?
It was 3 p.m.
It's the middle of the day.
Yep. But no, you had
I
to.
thought it was later.
And the men played a double header, so like.
Yeah.
Granted, they had an early-ish morning. Like you know, they left the school at like 7.
No, that's not early though.
No.
should
You gotta
tired
be
at
you
3
gotta be
o'clock.
awake at like
Yeah.
6. So like
Yeah.
it's somewhat early. I can imagine
Still.
you might need a coffee around that time, but
Still.
also, dude, you sat there and watched a match because the men were complaining he wasn't coaching, and then you made somebody. They played a double header, so you made somebody who played 4 matches
That's
drive.
I can still more alert. That's crazy.
Anyway, so the trainers asked about that, and I was like, okay, I got it still. Hold on.
It's the kind of drama we've never had in school.
I know.
It's only small people. It just makes me feel so good to feel like in school now. It is. Oh, we finished the CFA paper last night.
Oh yeah.
We go turn it in. So, on the front page, we have this, right? Next to what's on the front page is this one here. It says from 582 to $7, projected 5% increase in value, which is good to see that again. Football is spoken before you submit our final paper. How do we get 5% increase from 582 to $7? It's like $1.18 over 582 is like a little over 20%. Like, how do you get 5%?
That's awesome.
But I was just looking at it like that doesn't look right. And I was like, I put in my calculator, and I was like, okay, maybe around like 17% or whatever. And it's like 20. I was like, oh my god, it's like close. Oh, and then she puts this section in. She puts in the DuPont analysis table. Puts in the table. And then says, hey, does anybody have the DuPont analysis table? I was like, what?
Okay, girl, you
Just
just.
told me this. And I was like,
Oh.
yep. But she was doing all the work. So none of us saw what she was doing. So I'm just grabbing the doctors together. Because, like, together we did Google Docs. And we were all editing Google Docs, just like copying stuff from Google Docs. And putting it over. So she was like formatting them with the title bars and stuff. I was just like, grabbing the doc. I was like, we had to combine efforts to change it to both the coach in 3 days. But we have 2,000 miles to go.
That's awesome.
It's
Fire.
ridiculous. I can't claim so responsibility because I'm doing so much shit.
Hey,
I did like
you
60%.
you were the boss.
I did like 60% of the work. I did write a lot of code, but I was like, optimize this. Because there's all the projections and stuff is. There's all the simulation. Something like that. I was like, optimize this. That's fun.
There's like a huge
I
project
was
to
sweating.
do that.
I was sweating bullets last night. I was like, please tell me you got that.
Still need to bed.
Yeah. I mean, some people just like, maybe we start this a little further ahead of time and stuff. And I was like, that's probably a good idea.
It always does that. Hold on. It always edits out the tennis ball photos. It thinks it's the background, so. I have a trick. Don't you worry.
Like this one or something. Fantastic.
I can't believe I have to get paid for this crap. You know how long I've been running this freaking Instagram? Long.
You should get paid for it.
I should.
You should submit a petition.
I say that as I literally just like signed on to volunteer assistant coach next year.
Because you can be local, right?
Well, I'm gonna be in Portland, so I won't be coaching like practices, but I'm gonna help with matches, travel, and then doing social media and recruiting. Because I'm gonna be honest, running a social media for like it's possible for like an athlete to do it, like it's fine, but it's like the athlete should not have to take time out of their own day to do this. Like, I'm happy to do it to an extent, but like not necessarily.
Okay.
So I couldn't take percussion, it was my first choice.
So I usually people box.
I've always wanted to be a drummer.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, if you think about it like drums, but if you're doing like vibraphone, never mind, vibraphone's pretty cool. Yeah, I can do that.
Don't ever talk shit about my vibraphone ever.
But like, I don't know, I feel like that sounds simple, and like one simple pretty much.
No, I had a lot of fun. I got to play triangle. I let me play gong one time.
Okay.
I had a metal clapper.
Do you ever use your timpani?
Yeah.
That's a fun.
Tiffany's cool.
I'm like a
Those were the days.
That's so good.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
I think I love it.
Man City collapsed on them. See it happen. So they played tomorrow the next day. Which day? Good call. He's like the best dating moment. Which one? Cards were very good.
It's not even the haircut isn't bad. He doesn't look good. Yeah. I don't know so bad until the hair was like kind of clear. Even look on your shoulder, you just like straight up. Not me. I went. Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna go well.
Why not?
It's hot. It's hot.
Saw your mouth just reacted.
I always, I'm a big snacker. So I love shit like this because it's like, like it's just like basically air.
Like I need to go.
Yeah,
That's a cool like too.
I mean, he's probably like enjoying playing, but
Game's a lot of fun.
What about when you're on college? Yeah. Spot on. Real salt. Try that again. It's like four.
I know, six stuff.
Is it FC or CF? Where? Is that the church?
That's about right. I've been.
Every city. What?
Huh?
I said every city.
I wish.
Oh, Russia.
No, no. You know what else is built around this church? So many churches. Yeah, like old churches. That's my what? No, like what it was, hold on a second.
You are like your perfect soccer right now.
Salem, are you ready to rock?
Woo!
Okay, that seems like a no. That Actually, are we ready to rock? Oh, you probably deserve like another 5 minutes. You deserve another 5 minutes, okay.
7. And then I have to go all the way back upstairs, and they're not gonna come down here because it's in the middle of a league game. I just told you that. I guess.
You have to. I pulled that one straight out of my house. I saw it happen in real time. I don't know how it was. How. It's just that.
I do have Oh my god. Did I make it into the game? With like a little strap? Yeah, but I also have oh my god. Yeah. Mega fan. Wait. Like that? I have it
Wrong.
like
Also.
I think I use a different stick for it.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like a fire hazard. This is very cheap, actually. This is like acrylic. Yeah, so.
The name with the.
Right, okay. That's exactly what I meant. Because like if there's like little fuzzies, people will take like the layer and just run the little split ends.
I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah. I think that's a good one.
The ungroup, it's crazy being works both lives and and still have the what I actually very accurate depiction of the movie. It's deliberate versus deliberate. Hoping to live this movie. I wish it was Did you see that? That's our class. It's got a weed.
This seems like something I'd do.
Right, no. I'm so sorry, I had it in case.
Straight from the room with everyone's face. It's good.
I'll probably believe all these things. Oh, we're out of time. Salem, are you ready to rock? You are ready this time. Okay. It has been impressed upon to me by someone whose name rhymes with Feather Katata Smalley that it is good for your metabolism to visualize data. And so there's something called giggity plots. There's another thing called plotly. Or if there's any Pythoners in here, there's some matplotlibs and some Seaborns and also plotly. Plotly also works in JavaScript. Any JavaScript appreciators? Nope, Jace isn't here. Calling out Jace. Okay. So one of the ways to think about how good your logistical regression is with a receiver operating characteristic curve. And this is a way of visualizing the comparative goodness of a logistic regression. So, keyword here that I'm seeing on this slide, well, there's two keywords. First is graphical plot. We've already talked about that. Binary classifier. There's more than one kind of classifier. I can say, given this wine that is described as fruity, 2017, and not spicy, from whence province dost it hail? Right? I could ask that. Or separately, I can say, so is this one from New York or not? Right? Does it cheer for the Yankees? I heard it when I lived in North Carolina. We referred to New Yorkers as the Yankees that were such Yankees, even the Yankees called them Yankees. Right? That was fun. Okay. So we have a binary classifier model. Not the same thing as KNN. Not the same thing as naive Bayes, right? Logistic regression is answering yes, no. It's saying, is it New York or not? Okay? So that's different. And then we're going to see that at, what is this? Varying threshold values. What are the threshold values? Well, we're computing log odds of all this stuff, right? And when we're computing log odds, what we should be doing is we should be saying, hey, we have these coefficients. We make this prediction about the likelihood that something is New Yorky. And at various levels of New Yorkiness, we are misclassifying certain things as New Yorky that aren't, and as not New Yorky that are. We have our type 1 and type 2 errors, right? So we're gonna make a little graph, we're gonna make a visualization that shows the cutoff thresholds for our log odds. And we're gonna look at it, and then we're gonna understand what a logistic regression is, right? So that's what we're doing, and it's called rock curve. And then you get to say, Salem, are you ready to rock? And everyone goes, woo! My voice gave out, so that's what happened. Okay. I went to a live show, when was it? Last Friday? What day is it? It was February 7th. And it completely changed my entire personality. Okay. This happens to me often. So here is an example of a receiver operating curve. What's going on here? So on the horizontal axis, which I will not be bamboozled into calling an x-axis, this thing is clearly not labeled x, right? That says the false positive rate. That's how many things that I say are Protea SSM-I that aren't, right? So this is saying something has an attribute when it does not. And on the vertical axis, we have the true positive rate. That's saying that something has an attribute when it does actually have that attribute. I think this result comes out of computational biology, but it's not like I know anything about biology. But protea sure looks like a biological term to me. So I'm going to say this is computational biology. And this is just the example from our most beloved website, Wikipedia. Can I hear it for Wikipedia? Yeah? Yes? All right, let's go. Let's go. Woo! Founded by someone whose last name is Whale. That's cool, right? We could all change our last name to Whale. But then we would be hunted by Moby Dick? No, Captain. We would be Moby Dick. We would be hunted by Captain Ahab. Okay, that sounds right to me as well. Not a lot of literature majors in the house. That's okay. All right. So, the goodness of a logistic regression is related to how close we get to this point, right? Top left. Why is that? We want to classify things as being Moby Dick at very low probability if they aren't. So we have Toby Dick over here, Roby Rick over here, right? None of those things are Moby Dick, right? But then if we do get something that is Moby Dick, we want to correctly classify it as a whale, right? That made more sense in my head. Let's keep moving. Okay, so this thing's going to have two attributes. We're going back and forth here, right? We have sensitivity and specificity. Okay, sensitivity, in addition to being the way that I am commonly described, especially in my close personal intimate relationships, is the true positive rate, because I am truly positive with those I care about, right? So this is easy to remember, right? We all have our healthy relationships, right? Okay, so what? Okay, maybe that was funny. Okay, you try to be earnest. Okay, so we have our true positive rate. Why is that called sensitivity? That's how sensitive we are to the thing that is actually happening, right? So we're able to sense it or detect it. We could call it detectivity, but you can't have that in your personal relationships, right? Measures how well the model detects true positives. So we have this ratio here. We're abusing notation a little bit here. But this is the number of true positives. So I should probably have cardinality on this, right? Perhaps this is a set. The number of true positives divided by the true positives plus the false negatives, right? So what is a true positive? That is something that is correctly categorized as positive, and a false negative is incorrectly classified as negative. So these are the number of things that are whales, and these are the number of the whales that I correctly label as whales. So is a killer whale actually a whale? I have no idea. Yeah, right. Okay, so that is a oh, that's a false positive. Never mind, that's not on here anywhere. What is something that isn't a whale, or that is a whale and is not called a whale? I don't know what that would be. Perhaps maybe we just call them belugas instead of calling them beluga whales, and then they'd be misclassified, right? Okay. A whale shark? That has whale in the name.
But it's not a whale.
But it's not a whale. But we already had that example. We need something that is a whale that's not called a whale. Right? This is a narwhal. There you go. Yeah, it's, as a beluga. Yeah, right. Okay, specificity. This is how specific we are. So, speaking of your close personal relationships, something my partner and I love to do is one of us drives and the other one says directions. And the directions we like to say is turn. And there's a problem with that, and that's how specific it is, because some of you may have realized that you can turn in more than one direction frequently. Not every time, right? And then sometimes there's like turn soon, which is even more fun, right? And we both do this to each other. We have doctorates and cannot follow instructions, so it never goes away, folks. You'll finish the MS and be exactly the same as you are now. And so this is how truly negative you are, because when I make a wrong turn on my way to my emo concert, I get what the kids like to call straight up bummed out. Has anyone ever been straight up bummed out? That's what happens when you accidentally are truly negative, right? So this is, we have things that are not whales and we correctly classify them as not whales, and something that is not a whale that we correctly classified as not a whale is a projector. Measures how well the model avoids false positives. Easy. Okay, so we have our true negatives, so those are things that aren't whales. And then we add that with our things that are not whales that we know aren't whales. So killer whales are not in here because we think they're whales. And then we have our false positives, things that we think are whales that aren't whales. And so the killer whales are over here and the whale sharks are over here, right? Not whales, projectors, not whales, projectors, things that we think are whales that aren't whales, killer whales. Shout out, anyone love Shamu, the killer whale from SeaWorld? Apparently I was going to ride Shamu when I was a tiny child, and I freaked out, according to my parents. But you can't trust your parents, they don't know anything. Okay, don't put that one in the course of else. Okay, here's an example related to storms. Can I hear it from meteorology? Yeah, right? Dr. Gore, who many of you are taking classes from this term, I think used to be a meteorologist, perhaps still is. I don't know if that's something that you used to be, right? So we picked a storm model. So we have a true positive if I say there's going to be a storm and there is. We have a false negative if I say there's not going to be a storm and there's not. And then the interesting ones are false positive and true negative, right? I could say, oh, there's a storm a-coming, and then no storm comes. That means I'm falsely positive, because I love storms, right? Let the weather take me. That's what I say. Okay, yeah, I mentioned I'm in my emo era right now, you know. But I'm like, I'm only ironically sad. I'm actually living. Okay, and the true negative is when what model predicts no storm and no storm occurs, right? So I don't know what that is. That's what happened today. I didn't dress for cold weather, and it didn't happen. You know what this stuff is. Okay, so we want a perfect model, right? And a perfect model is not, who's a famous model?
Naomi Campbell.
Naomi Campbell. Great choice. I know who that is. And Naomi Campbell is both highly sensitive and highly specific. And so Naomi Campbell, correct me if I'm wrong here, but correctly detects all real storms, right? So Naomi Campbell's never looked up at the sky and said, oh, there's a storm a-coming, and there's not been a storm a-coming, right? And Naomi Campbell also correctly only leaves an umbrella at home on days where there will be no rain, because perfect models are always perfectly dressed for their meteorological or atmospheric conditions. And we can use the rock curve to help analyze this trade-off. Does Naomi Campbell also know how to rock? Slay. Okay. This is too small. Is that? No, that's not still too small. Okay. So this is perfect. This is where Naomi Campbell is. This is random guessing. That's where I am. This is worse than random guessing. So that's where, what is? Undergraduates, right? This is where the undergraduates are, right? And this is where our beloved graduate students are, right? You're not perfect yet, but you're asymptotically approaching it as you take more classes, right? So you become more like Naomi Campbell with each passing day, right? False positive rate, true positive rate. Okay. Teaching's fun. You should all get doctorates. Okay. So if your curve is close to the diagonal line, random guessing, that indicates poor predictive ability. Why is that? Well, if, like, you say there's a storm a-coming, and then a storm occurs at exactly 50% probability, you should have just flipped a coin, right? Come on. And if storms occur exactly 50% of days, that's how it goes too. Now, if you say exactly 10% of days a storm's a-coming, and they come on 10% of the days, but you have no correlation with which days the storm's coming, then you're still the worst, right? So get your act together. What you really want to do is see if there's clouds on the horizon. Okay. The area under the curve is this little thing I like to call calculus. Any calculus appreciators who loves taking derivagrals and integrals? That was really hard to say out loud. Everyone loves the chain rule. Yeah? Yep. Okay. The area under the curve is a way to measure model performance. Now, some of you may have noticed that this is not a calculus class. I know. I was shocked and horrified too. Because I was assuming we were going to do the fundamental theorem of calculus, which we all know is the integral is the antiderivative, right? Okay, we all knew that. And so since we all know the fundamental theorem of calculus, we know how to calculate the area under the curve. But you know what else knows the fundamental theory of calculus? The R project for statistical computation, right? There you go. And so we can just politely ask R, does it slay? And it will give us a number between 1 and 0, right? 0.5 is random guessing. 1 is goated. You're very rarely going to get things that aren't between those two values. So, when we are looking at our storms a-coming model, we can determine what log odds we want to correspond to saying there is in fact a storm a-coming. Because sometimes I see some dark clouds on the horizon and I say, I don't know, I've seen dark clouds before. I'm not afraid of those dark clouds. And sometimes there's like rumbling thunder and I can't see the sun, right? And then I'm like, I think the storm might be right here, right now, right? And so there's these different amounts of probability and different features I look at. I see how dark the clouds are. I see how close they are. I see how many rumblies the clouds are making versus my tum, because I could be hungry at this time, right? And so we are going to make different decisions based on, well, how many storms we see over time, things like this, right? And so we can just draw a line at a certain log odd, and the rock curve point at that line will give us our true and false positive. Here's how you do it. We're going to do what? We're going to make Winer, which stands for Wines from Oregon, right? Remember we've been doing Vino for a while? And I just slapped an R on the end of it. What's that R stand for? Our favorite programming language, our most beloved programming language, the R project for statistical computing, right? Okay. It annoys me so much they don't go by language. Okay, we take wine words. What's this? That is the words that occur at least 1,000 times and are not stems, so we're separating acidic and acidity. But I'm also only taking things that are Oregonian in nature. Shout out Oregonian, our regional news publication, right? Good for them. And then we're also going to omit province. So we're only going to check to see if things are Oregon or they aren't again. Aren't. I'll work on it. We do our train test split, right? So we have trains and tests. Who loves trains? Yeah, and then who loves tests? That was interesting. We're going to take a generalized linear model. I don't think it extremely matters which linear model you put in here just for the sake of learning what a rock curve is, right? If you're actually doing binary classification, you probably care a lot. But I'm going to do a generalized linear model of the family binomial because I'm going to categorize things into two camps, yes and no. We have our built-in control we used last time. We're going to use the training data set we just derived, and we're going to check to see if things are Oregonian in nature, if they Oregon or aren't again. Okay, here's a rock curve. Salem, are you ready to rock? Yes, you are. Look at this. It slays. Some of you may have noticed that I don't know how to use the R project for statistical computation, and that's why this chart goes all over the place. Look at that. Why does it go to -0.5? I don't know what that is. Okay, so on a previous slide, we trained a model. We got our fit. A dope fit, perhaps. Then we make our predictions. I think this is only selecting the final fit of the model, which I should have just taken the final model, right? We're going to apply the model that we trained over our training data to our test data. We're going to look at the probability, and we're going to use it for fit. We're going to develop a rock curve, and then we're going to plot it, and then we're also going to awk it. Remember, what is this thing doing? That's taking an integral, right? And the integral is big, right? Very close to 1, because from 1 to 0 on this scale, there is very close to 1 amount of stuff under the curve. We see we get very close to 1 very quickly, and then we drop down to 0 very quickly when we get sort of further over. So there is, what is that? 0.0825 worth of nothing up here in terms of area. What this would suggest is that if I cut anywhere around here, I'm going to get very high classification accuracy. My specificity increases to be quite high over here, and my sensitivity, my specificity, what am I saying? One of these gets better. There's a trade-off between true and false positives. Okay, I'm not going to try and get my thoughts straight right now. Look at an example and plot it out. But the way to do this is at log odds, or actual odds of 0.5. What we can see is that, if we have a specificity of 0.5, we see we can get a very high sensitivity of, that looks exactly like 1.0, right? It has to be a little bit lower. Maybe that's like 4 pixels lower or something, so it's right here. So if we're allowing ourselves to be non-specific, to incorrectly categorize negatives at a 50% rate, we can get like 97% of the true positives classified correctly. And you can do conversions anywhere else, right? If you only want to misclassify, say, 5% of your negatives, you can still get 60% of the positives correct. So, with all that said and all that motivated, I would like to give us our first example to begin working towards our modeling projects. And so this is sort of an example modeling exercise. We're going to ask you to get into your prediction teams, and you all love and respect each other, so you're glad to work with them, right? Remember? Yes? Okay. We're all bought in. Everyone's locked in. Choose a Pinot province other than Oregon or California. What is one Pinot province other than Oregon or California? Thank you. And I'm missing one. There's one I didn't hear yet. Did anyone say Marlboro? Slay. Okay. Gather in your prediction teams. Choose a Pinot province other than Oregon or California. Use logistic regression to find words, terms that increase the odds of choosing that province the most. So what the process you should be going through here is you're doing feature engineering. You're validating your feature engineering approach with this rock curve. And you're using the merits of the rock curve and the area under the curve rather than the kappa value. But that's the core difference from the modeling assignment 1. So you're trying to get a very high area under the curve. And you're doing this with feature engineering. So you're going to take the Pinot data frame. You're going to fiddle around with it a little bit. You're not going to cheat. You're not going to put in something that says, my province rhymes with Arlboro. That's cheating, right? But it would be funny. Okay. So you're going to do that, and you're going to try and get your area under the curve as high as possible. And looks like this isn't too bad, but remember, we're doing this for Oregon. And there's a lot of Oregon data. And I'm banning Oregon and California, which are the ones we have data for. So for Marlboro, Casablanca Valley in Chile, Marlborough in New Zealand, Burgundy in France, and then New York, which I don't remember what country that's in. Not yet. I think we said God willing. Yeah, okay. So go ahead and get cracking on that. I'm recommending you don't do New York or Burgundy. That's basically cheating. Do Casablanca or Marlborough. That'll be interesting. So get cracking, and I will go around and talk to all of you and practice going through the process of taking the Pinot RDS and getting to a new data frame, which is highly predictive. Go. Cool. Yes, 8:30. Perfect. I'm locked in. I'm a gamer. They don't call me a streamer.
That's definitely okay.
Side you're probably feeling great about.
Did they do like a later release? The band's still doing a lot of times they got that big deal with 2001.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
The road started.
I think we need to do our own release. Oh.
It's super safer yarn.
Your microplastics.
Probably.
Are you responsible for microplastics in that, or is it my diet? That does sound like microplastics.
Yeah, like, we looked it up, you're not supposed to put it in the microwave.
Well, it's one of the things you're not supposed to put in the microwave.
It's supposed to be yarn. But if you put it in the fire and
That, okay, so that sounds like it's rewarding to bring it to microwave, because that was the case.
Like putting a CD.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
You get to see a show.
Exactly.
You'd be like, yeah.
Especially if it's in an on-campus microwave.
That's just too good news, right? Because then you don't have to go to school anymore, and you get to see a show.
Right. Like if you put a CD in a microwave by that computer.
Now you're cooking. Specifically cooking.
Yeah.
You want to do Marlboro or want to do
Rain. You want to work with that?
fine. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, all right, that's cool. Yeah. Well, it's not Kendall's fault. She would be weird. That's what I said. She would be more. Yes. Yes. That's what Jace does with really fast.
I don't know, he's behind me. I'm not turning around.
No, I have no idea who sits behind me. Like, do not turn around.
Exactly. So I don't know.
I know you guys are here.
Actually, I know that Ryan's here.
I'm always watching everyone's computer screen.
That's good. I hope I can entertain you.
That's chats, dude. Chill.
Okay, that was the first one I can think of. Wait,
use the stinking underscore on it, found it looking hardly. Call that one Marlboro. Tastes about the same. You ever try it by itself? Watch your sister sauce. What? I don't know. I told my daughter that it's pronounced Worcestershire. So Worcestershire? And she's just like, what? Well, I have a brother, not a sister. I'm like, well, but then she's just like, I'm confused. I'm like, me too.
She or like the water? Not in the sea. That takes Stevens care. They can get out. They go on a rampage. You know what thing to follow us? Yeah, you weren't there when we talked about
No, I really screwed it up.
Okay, so I did need to do that.
It's not like
Whoa, that looks cool. Yeah, I think so too. Oh, that.
So we're using.
Let's see. Oh, my. Did I say oh, $10 sign. Oh my gosh. I got all those.
So now we already have.
Oh, mine's so different.
98?
It's nice.
Yeah. Like what I did.
Yeah.
I literally only changed the question. Is it?
I mean, I did the same thing.
Yeah, like it's exactly the
so
same.
different?
No, you did like exactly this. Like you even made a name instead of why not. Yeah, I guess I didn't use.
You don't need to change it. I
Yeah.
just want to keep the original.
That makes sense.
No.
It's still in luck.
I'm being complicated.
It's exactly the same. You got a 51, I got a 98. I tried that.
October.
Did you get that?
It's okay, it was on my computer.
Okay. What the heck?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I just gotta give it some encouragement.
Is your favorite series?
Yeah, that's like what you want. Like one is the best possible. So yeah. I think if anyone just change our, I don't know if I need to do anything different.
Next one problem is to run the mill. I got a red bar.
I don't know that they have right to do these. Yes, you saw that.
Just to get started, we like both did the same thing, but I got an A sheet 98.7, and I was really like,
After dinners, just makes it really makes people I mean, I know that the one today tonight is already.
but then I ran mine again, and I got like a better grade, like a higher grade.
Yeah, I checked everything, like, instead of using all the measures, CV for update everything, and then it turns out that our agency, is pretty small.
So what happens if you look at the measures of train underscore
I think it might change.
It's exactly the same.
Okay. So then we should look at maybe the first 10 entries. Perhaps you could, for example, predict over the first 10 entries. Prediction starts. So one way to do that is to take the head of that, predict over that one prediction. And I would do these, I would examine small features of the data very slowly. So you're probably going to find something quite interesting.
Still going to do this crap.
I don't know, it just bothers me.
It just goes like false, false, false. I think it's gonna be the same. Oh wait, no. Line 2.
Sorry.
This is my exact same other one. Like it's the same QMD from the class that I've ran with you before. So maybe if I do move it to a new thing, yeah, I did too.
Oh, he's a little guns. Does rock the rock thing? Or see, that's why he keeps making comments. Rock the first one, I figured it would bring out like in Japan, like their funds are weighted in 4 hours. And like, for example, there's like curry, but Kameroson's him or he. So if they say curry or talk about curry, which is he makes curry. It doesn't really sound funny in English, but in Japanese it's like because that's their kind of
Okay. That makes perfect sense. Okay. So go that from
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I never
I was like, oh yeah. That's really nice to know.
It's okay, I get a laptop
yeah.
on my job when I started.
I had 92 this time.
Are we getting to
I gotta check. I guess it means that the words you already have. We all need one, which doesn't really make too much sense.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay. So then are you ready for it? Like this is just nice.
The Matrix came out.
Yeah.
You watch that thing, you're like, it looks like it came out like 4 minutes. And then you watch Penny Star Wars, and 10,000. That's why you should study your money.
They were. It's the Empire. I also have a secret lab chair with that branding all over it.
You should have seen me doing the 501 project.
Yeah, it's just like Californian stuff is a lot of common.
Actually,
Yeah. Maybe you built it out in Oregon.
I was like, damn, I have to fill out how to, and then I went online. It's a one, and then I was like, let me try one. And then it's right. It took like a week to get back to like 4, but.
You just have it running for like an hour.
Oh, for it to like get back up to speed? No, I've like used it. I can get every now and then. I would repower it every like hour. No, warning.
Well, like, I go
Yes.
Yeah.
It hasn't produced the rest of the warning, but I got the first line.
Yep.
there are.
Oh no.
Okay, you got it, girl.
I'm trying to fix the clock.
Shoot.
I changed it from 1,100 gold.
That is how that
Why are you doing this in Python? Why are you doing this in Python? I made I wrote R in Python. But you need the Python. Can you do Python for you? Why are you doing all the homework in Python? No, yeah, there's no ego in it.
Wouldn't sound very defensive, but thank you.
Well, then you can convince yourself.
Yeah.
But your reason's kind of fine.
It's going to take another 3 minutes.
I'm a little worried it might stop working. I might just like this.
Starting to
I'll give it like 1 minute or so.
They will only be ready
So responded by it.
Oh my gosh. That's where this came into play. Because they said we could only do like 2 farms. That is a secret brand too, yeah, but without the hug. It's the normal red.
I got it.
It's the red. Also known as Catholic.
Oh, I just changed.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of different
Yeah.
I want to use all the energy.
I got almost 90%. All they did was change words and got some more time. That's all I did. That's all we did. It's just like how you do the homework, right?
Yeah, so it's only showing the head, so it goes down. They're probably like 100,000. Yeah.
I did some of this stuff up here too.
Like 600.
I just tried to copy it. Watermark down, then it's going to be in there already. And you just run it as you go through it.
Oh, yeah.
Then I'm like, oh. But I feel like this helps me learn like what's supposed to go where.
At least over half.
So it comes to say,
I don't have to run into that.
so it's like, oh, this is so bad. It's just rough. They were playing that earlier, while on the way over to County, over at the music building. There's a band there playing that. Let's just sing it how they do on I'm not sure if you've seen it, it's amazing.
They do the
for
red.
Otherwise you can see it. So 6% is by split around.
I'm looking at everything.
Remember the distance.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And then like red shows up in my orders. It's like the exact same order for the first 5.
Like NLTK?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Some of your numbers are higher.
I think you're learning a useful bit about making a video for but I don't know what you're doing.
We don't have to tell you.
Were you guys able to run?
Yeah, it's open till 9.
Oh, you did? Damn. Where'd you have to go?
Yeah, very much. I know. I'm very aware based on the things I drink from there.
That's what I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
What was your,
Yeah.
what was your area in the first?
Right, but they, go to decrease. If they don't have class.
Yeah, I think the one
That's the one that
you're changing.
That's the only one.
Yeah.
Last round. If they all want jobs, thank you,
Because that is like the logistic regression.
That's actually cool. Someone sent me an email, it's like, here's the link to homework 4, and I'm like, got it.
Yeah.
Email the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Email the spreadsheet. And then at the end of the term, I'm like, yeah, the person who did most of the homework, that's the name.
Yep.
So I was going to, yes, probably like many very big ways. The reason all MSCS are vote on signing up this year is because students talk to each other, and it feels like they're being closer than they know why.
Yep.
No, I know.
Yeah, I think we did that already.
I saw they did something like, well, my students
Increase the most.
Right.
Flavor or no.
Yeah.
Anyway, this seems mysterious, dude. I think the people that are torturing
Oh. It was so tempting to comment on it.
Yeah.
Like, my better judgment
And
says
I've
it's
really
better.
wanted to have a kind of problem here.
So, like, there's two types of better judgment.
Each product.
Yeah, like it was like that
Socialize.
original example I showed you.
Easy going.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
That reminds me of,
You shouldn't have asked.
You're just done with basics.
Notice how Jace hasn't been here for like 4 hours?
I feel like it'd be a fun sticker.
Jace's homework looked fine, so I have no idea what
Be like,
Jace
you're not putting that in her college. She would. I'd be like, why not?
If one night none of you show up, I don't have a grudge.
Oh, what if you could
Humble flag.
Now you make me feel bad.
It's not that website.
Last year, over the summer,
Let's go 50%.
literally over the summer, steak
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah. Conversation. Like that's a
Friday,
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already made it. I mean, I would. Like, you are a really conservative model. You would have to be equipped on yourself.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, not for sure. Your programs.
Yeah.
Email to my I don't know. That would be awesome. I don't think it's a very good goal
One of them
now
is
because all the government stuff getting checked in.
One of us.
Actual
Either James or me.
Right now, the problem is Minnesota himself.
Yeah.
Data science.
So like,
For that.
like when I applied, I was
I think I should make James do it on a project.
the week that of like my last one.
I think Boston.
Yeah.
Something happened with the truck that came back. Right?
Massachusetts.
It was
Literally everyone gets the M states wrong.
So I asked
I get
them, like,
Michigan.
That's not.
Okay.
I'm time to get job. Because it was supposed to be that. And then my son said,
You
"Okay,
had up here in Minnesota.
I'm gonna make an exception. He said, give me your personal relative.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
He was like, I don't do that.
Ostensibly,
I just want to open it up for
like better things like in my portfolio.
Like, what is the point of detecting
This
gaps?
country
That's not saying.
what I did.
It's called.
I felt like
that.
it's a very few things.
Yeah.
It's a fine. I don't think I'm gonna tell you. Isn't it weird? Emphasis small school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because I need people are like making your like doing stuff.
Data science. What are you gonna do? Everyone's like, or you can take a program and say, we don't like.
It's true. We don't.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
I
something.
did it the second time, 992. That's gotta be over. 992's gotta be over. That's it. That's it.
And I didn't really get it.
I don't really want to.
Okay. Like I
think it
Wrong idea.
Yes.
Then it's hilarious.
Oh my god.
On campus? Yes, I live on campus. Kidding? Oh, that's.
Not terrible. What's that's just the name. His name's on house.
I'm a West Sider.
Right?
Oh, no way. Okay.
Well, is that because like I'm a graduate student or because these are so many? I know.
Yeah, it's hard work. That sounds awesome. Like it makes it seem like this program really like gives you the training to be able to go into the if that's happened to her, she probably had a ducks in a row pretty
Get really good at doing this. Maybe then call yourself Doc Ock. Or Doc White.
You're 22.
I have the wrong computers in my games right
March, I'm 23 next month.
Okay.
My son's 4 next
from the
month.
ground instead of from
You gotta be a guy.
My son's 4 next month. This little guy.
So
Is he
March
also
are
Pisces?
closer to the same age than March.
Yeah.
They're 19 apart. My guess was wrong by 27 years.
No, your guess was wrong by 25 years.
So March
Because there was an iPhone to do the arithmetic.
You know what else happened?
Yeah, I'm gonna power through.
Now I feel old. I'm gonna be 36.
I love it.
I got asked to walk into teach it.
March is this.
March 5th, I'm also doing that now.
Right.
You're like
Racist. I'm kidding, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
provinces here, instead of showing
I think-
entire
Yeah.
provinces.
Now you're gonna say Jeffrey's the same as the
Yeah, they're all MSDS. And am I racist again?
Yeah.
It's for,
Yeah, it's true.
Jeffrey was at Western Washington University. That's so exciting. Whoa.
We were ready to run on the rock.
Yeah, because Jeffrey actually knows stats.
There's no way to say this. It's not at least not Big stack guy from Staten Island.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Like, we got lucky tattoos. One of them would say
It's statistically terrible.
Exactly.
I often think this. We got that. We would say master in computer science. We got that in
Maybe
grade
it's
4.
I was able to rock. I then decided to rock.
I know.
Ran it a second time. All I did was run it a second time and got that. Woo! Actually, I am waiting to hear back on an for an interview with the department of my organization. It's actually kind of fun. I told them I was in this program, so I tried to use it. I was this close to getting in, or you know, it happens.
Like I
I
literally.
was like, I asked them, is this things happening where my branch closed. Now I'm like, oh, it's funny because if you're playing with something, it's remote. And I don't
That's pretty good.
and it's not like but yeah, no, this is great. I just turned my project in.
Yeah, they only did that.
They were like, yeah, I can use Excel. I'd rather use Word.
Oh, probably because it's
That's like, I remember doing this project 2 years ago, and they give you this huge, like, it's pretty big for Excel, and you're just like, oh, this is like, but when it threw it out, oh, this is easy.
Where did you get it?
There was a bunch of people that were using it, which is fine, but then they put like this string a bunch.
Yeah.
I will
And
say,
then
if you
I was like, here, just put it in your database. It's
especially
like,
in between your
nope.
fingers, it'll fade.
I also heard that anti-social.
Yeah, but like, respectfully, tattoos are we can do.
I'll get it updated on this.
That's what I want.
Yeah. Like,
Come
since
in.
I'm in very
Oh, data engineering. Yeah.
I
Literally spilled it.
No, they don't. Maybe that. Oh, also by the microwave and the think tank.
Soup's gone.
They got it.
Album that we can too.
Like, I was just gone.
Yeah. Yeah, started revolution.
So, people say, can you go if you get like 0.992? Asking for a friend.
I have a sneaking suspicion.
I had 9791, 0.9791, and then I'm like, what happens if I run this whole thing again? And then it did 992, and I'm like, that's it, I'm scared to touch it. That's what it's like getting married to.
You are? Would you go?
Slowly just adding things based on
I don't think so.
Add in more and more.
Dude, I was so afraid I was gonna hit my laptop. I was like, oh no.
Even though you got that wonderful neoprene spawn cover.
Yeah, well, it's mine. That's why I did it.
NPCC's over it.
I also put this out for you.
Oh yeah, because it's a hot one.
I think this is the last one I
Nice.
do. Yeah.
There's no fans on this.
A couple people have left. Yeah.
It's like one of the M1 models, so there's no fan. And I was like, that's what I was. Oh, feel that. Woo, that's amazing. So you do that like in the summer or?
Yeah, well, it also runs burns, so I trade stocks.
Oh, I see. Because you want you want to sneeze.
Casablanca.
What
did you use?
See, like, it's really
Okay.
Oh,
that's good. Go down together.
So I figured out the other one, right? And then now I got the other one. I got another.
Alright, that sounds like second product.
Bottle? That part right on.
I don't know. I mean, if you want to consider on the I had to go in. So when you go in like this, I have to go into here. But then what's the problem is it's the wrong QMB file. It's supposed to be classified. It's supposed to be that, but it's always the last one. So when you click into there, you just have to go in here.
No. Last year,
Far away from me.
What's the verdict? Oh, well, the verdict is that when all she had prob instead of prob CP. That's why I was doing that. We have a different. Wow. Okay. Well,
You can see that happening.
this is the I didn't purchase everything except in California, and she did one where there was only filters out. So we were not doing the better.
It was really good. It's kind of funny, man. When I was at I was in the financial econ program, which is financing and economics supposed to be geared towards like investments and stuff. It was a really good program. It was also like, I don't know, I just kind of balanced it was a lot more, I was more interested in like Oh yeah, I remember. So we had people from Uber come to we had a Bloomberg lab. It was a computer lab full of Bloomberg terminals, and we got to learn how to use them. And the guy from Bloomberg was hilarious. I was like, hey, I have a Mac. You guys are this stuff on Mac? Oh, we'd love to. It's a security issue. And I was like, what? And then when I asked someone else about it later, who wasn't the salesman for Bloomberg, I said, yeah, Bloomberg wants like backdoor access, and I was like, hell no. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's not a
Because they wouldn't be able to support it, report it, and go, okay, I'm sure, like, you could order a Mac that's like crazy like that, yeah.
Cool.
Every time you say
In doubt.
Thanks for your transparency.
Just like operational management. Operations management.
Yeah.
I got 0.9 days.
It's okay. It could be worse. I mean, it could be a lot worse. I mean, like, I'm doing pretty okay with it. It's,
like recording and stuff.
Wow.
It's just kind of like, I don't know, I'm not really understanding. Oh, I mean, I was just really distracted by like, I was working on it.
We deserve that. Yeah. No one.
So you wanted to see how many funded loan applications came from which dealers?
It's about 6,000 emails.
Here, I was just putting up a bunch of
3,500 are from California.
That's what it is, yeah.
Quite likely all of them come from our
That's what I'm.
especially
I had to go through and put it in the center.
so Connecticut are most likely to be most correlated to California because most things are correlated.
Wanted to see
So my next question is, I'd like to see.
cities by generation
So now
application
here,
from
because
outside
it
of
did not have
where the
province
property is
here.
located.
So
So
is it mean that
we
we're
have mostly Portland and
Peter, like
Vancouver.
Casablanca Valley?
That's where we're getting our
Because
a
we
lot of
don't have
interest
a
from.
province here, like this.
Really, there's something involved, but not a whole lot. Hoover, right? We used to have one in Wilsonville.
This still
That's
says
my grade check.
this is a binomial expression. You should be checking to see if something is province or isn't.
Yeah.
And then like, this is, top 10 cities
One of them.
that approved cuddle applications. The cuddle loan is, cuddle stands for.
That's why it's correlated with a certain province.
So a dealership then sends it out.
So that's how likely something is correlated with California.
So,
This one I
want
would
to see
not be
what cities where they were coming from.
given some feature to us on how likely that's the thing is for this. Okay, initially that's the thing, that is from Casablanca Valley, so we have it.
I'll do it probably tomorrow.
We can only check one.
I turned it in today though.
Doing it, yes.
Okay.
Let's
So
say
I made like a Casa Valley
branch.
thing. Should I plug it in up there? Yep. Okay. One final conceptual thing. What does odds mean?
Yeah.
Is it like the odds it's right?
Oh, yeah.
So those three are.
Okay. But so
But
that's
this is my branch.
how likely something happens.
We were number 10.
Okay.
And there are all these other branches that did worse than us, so.
like,
Not
no
sure
matter
why.
what.
Divided by
And also when you look at it by the number of approved applications done in the branch by operator number,
1 third of the time.
Those were two of my employees.
1 third divided by 1. Okay.
So it's partially done that way for privacy. Another part of it is because that's what our course system. Our course system has everybody in there by
Yeah. Right. Before you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I worked there for 6 years, so I knew a lot of folks who were like,
yeah, so it's like maybe that's like
there's this guy was Randy, this was my guy
So I think I should be
Arlo.
something at 90%.
Oh my god, I'm so
They
sorry.
were
Sorry, I know your name, I promise.
And I responded, I looked up, so.
I said it and I was like,
What's down here?
Is it
Divided by
roommate
1
time?
minus b.
my roommate's name is Kyle.
Yes, that's fair then.
Sorry. I started working with
It wasn't one of you, really.
Oh.
This was final
and I was doing a.
This was me.
3 point that would be easier. That's 4 to 1 on.
Last year I did a lot more delegating.
So they've
And
never
it's
seen
like,
it,
oh,
and they're
I
like.
can't do this execution, I do or I was trying to do some of the other folks got to do
I was like, right place, right time.
Yeah, these two
Like,
and Haley.
Yeah, that's a fun group.
I had them do
I
one.
think every kid who did it last year came back and like wanted to do it again. On top of Petra, the women's center, her daughter, and then
Okay, so we can catch on
the old director of housing. So we have like a few more too.
I like it. And they're at first I didn't
Okay.
why are they the basketball? Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many kids in here and they're too. And then I said, and I was like,
Oh yeah, credit score.
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. Okay.
That's awesome. You know that you I mean, it happens.
No.
Who's like taking over the vlog. Research all of the stories. Yeah, she watched all the and so she watched what I did.
It doesn't matter.
I keep telling you, we all should know this.
I know, literally. Because I was like, this is one of our biggest events of the year. And then we just got on the topic of the
Are you usually the biggest student
Have you ever
I absolutely love it. I was so obsessed with it. This summer I worked 27% rural Montana, so I only did.
Oh yeah, you said
Shelley.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't get that.
Pretty much two or three,
I like it.
2 or 3 points more, but also. So I thought that was kind of fun.
And then the other team.
All these different years.
He's definitely, he's got like an on stage like personality.
I still think that's a bad
Is he really? That makes so
He's
much
like
sense.
performed at infinity.
But my branch was right here.
Performed nice places.
Yeah.
Because I
But
Did you guys know when you guys were?
Okay.
Oh, I would love
Make sure they hire him
but
again.
then like tell me as you go
like a
down
place
more
in the
branches.
audience. It's like, oh yeah, that's a good
It's hard to
one.
have a few plans. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's that just makes me say.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
This was
do
South
you know the
It's
scouts?
not that much. But their branch is like twice the size of ours. The biggest problem is that
He'll probably stop.
and they were boundary for everything here.
We did it.
And then
We did it.
We're the machines and we just learned.
Yeah, exactly.
My branch for last year.
What did you guys get? What's your problem?
Casablanca Valley.
What did you get for your
There's no way
A's?
one single breaks the
So nice.
No, I got a 99.
I don't think
Exactly. And you educate a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
But they also have one.
Yes, exactly.
And our logo.
It's great. Yeah. I love data science.
You definitely did.
It's kind of like covered because we
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
applications fewer than they did. But still, that's
Okay, fine.
Yeah. I sent both things out to your chat.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Like, I think that this is mortgage. For application.
Yeah.
That looks like this mortgage.
Then I realized I had a meeting.
So it's kind of like, These two, I think, is remote engineering level department. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't double counting, so I made this primary conflict. Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of real fun stuff. I did a whole big thing. And everybody Instagram that I did. And see, I was like, that looks almost normal. But then when you look at that was right.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Just
It was after
but like, you said you Google chat? Okay. Okay, thank you.
No, they're really annoying.
No, that's the last one.
Am I just going probably too quickly?
Yeah.
I think I am. See, I did a whole bunch of different. You there, yeah. This is median 650, median 606. So yeah, it's a little left skewed. So, and then I did my. So my R squared was okay, but my RMSE was kind of and then you gotta remember these little. So it's but so that's what I was saying. If that looked like we actually had an incentive, or it looks like our underwriters were, we're more likely to approve.
I'm thinking firewall really fun.
And then after I said it, I just thought, oh, look, we did an interaction training, we did that and the improving, underwriter with it. And it'd be really cool, we could do that, but we'll see what comes of it. I think I'm supposed to hear back in the next few days. Well, good luck. Good luck. Thanks. The analysis look pretty good. Huh? The analysis look pretty good. Yeah, I just didn't do a lot of joins outside of school because I didn't really. I was like, I could do this here, but
So the only shorts I have are really first of all, Coach would not give me the long night shorts, so I'm kind of pissed about that. So I have to wear the
So one of my other ones, he goes, I broke two book shorts.
that all of the distance boys wear. It's ridiculous. Freaking Parker. Do you guys wear tennis get long coats like that? We have sweatsuits now though. Okay. What about for baseball? You guys have you don't even have size! I'm in a swimsuit and I used to think that
you wouldn't be outside at now.
okay, I thought you guys got new ones. I thought it looked new.
Oh, is that what it's called?
What? Okay.
Let's see if you.
In and out of my guess.
If you would have swam it now that you're in college, they do have an outdoor pool. They have an indoor and outdoor. I remember my first year there, one of my years there, I took
They're matching. And then I
I did swimming because I was like, yeah, I did that in high school. I have to do PE credit. I don't do that. Yeah. The animal was outside. So December outside, but they had this really cool dome you put over here. So it was technically indoor, but it was still cold as balls.
I think I just need to
Tennis and track were only like 1 house. We just got lucky with my parents. during the semester when it gets cold, and my coaches are like 30 degrees out in the morning, and nobody just like
Yeah, you're like, shut up.
but that's why there was like
Oh no. What are your events? I don't know why they put them on. That's fair, you do it. Maybe
I have to go buy
when it comes to like just throwing the handbag in, because I have hurt my wrist so many times where just on the either on the bulkhead or
Okay, like,
that's like I'm like they're like what?
I even say that as someone who's been advocating for students to use
It's
right,
completely
like, where
no,
you're
it
small.
would-
But for individuals, with like, when you oftentimes you just I was saying that for like men's basketball, please go dark gray with black.
It's not.
Like, but the track that doesn't make sense.
Right, like I was pretty good at like just at starting I was pretty good. But then once started not being good, I just pull up and go. So like starting out, I love it. But any other options like
Yeah, like
I don't want to do that. Like why? I'm like get up on the like
yeah, it's like well, I mean, like, also, it's like, we're
I can do the block. I'm just scared that I'm gonna fall in or I'm going to slip. Like or get disqualified because I went to I'm trying to remember what my favorite was in high school. The name of the game was Philip Lanes. So my school never won any meets because we only had like 10 guys.
like even the women's tennis team were also sponsored by someone.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Just a queen. Yeah. So, not all.
I did the most was when I did
So that means like we pay a small amount to Nike, but we get access to Nike team apparel, which like you're not allowed to buy just as like a standard. So yeah, they don't give us any money, but we get a discount
Why would you do that?
They give us a coupon and they give us access to like the mass market to then be free.
Super dope dude, he was a math teacher in high school. And he qualified for the Olympics, but he tried to win.
There's occasional like
Hilarious. I was just like, okay, I guess I'll try. And then I was like, okay, how's that? That's good. One more time. I'm like,
but yeah, like also like the tennis team has a like we're sponsored by Selenco, but for like our tennis bags and our ties, but like Nike also makes tennis bags. So like since
decided to be able to show off.
bags instead of Nike.
I mean, yeah, well, he won. He did first.
Was another
But he was showing off during the 500 He turned into 500 IM.
I would literally be like,
He was also a very built up dude. And I was just like, okay, this is why I just can't.
it's just like in terms of like how they decide the budget. It's like, oh, we should have sports. So 60% of our students are out there. Like when I was trying to get oh, bye, Dina.
I'm just tired. I mean, I checked my text.
That's great.
I'm almost done.
Yeah, so you gotta go.
I have to go now. Even if it's just like a little like shake out.
How do you go yeah, just cut. And he showed me, he's like, yeah, just cut your face on me. We only have to find one. Yeah, I'm like, the latter stuff. I don't know about the features. I think that takes me too long. I just decide to do that.
I don't take extra good look at those.
These are, there's reasons to do these things. But we can do optimize it.
That's real quick.
And that's where you can close.
Brad, question for you. Did you by any chance have to have a battery like this? Hopefully worth a shot.
Yeah.
No, I can. It's just that without the thing, the alarm's gonna go off, and I don't want to deal with that. So I can unlock it with the key, but if I do that, this is my mom's car. I don't know why she has it set up like that, but it's gonna set the panic alarm off. And I'm a brown person downtown Salem, so sorry to have to wait. Right here.
Oh.
Well, let's give it a try first. If the alarm goes off, then this caps up batteries?
If you need, I live like a mile away, I'm pretty sure I have those.
They should be fine. Like I was, I'm